Hello.
Hey, Chris, Marshall, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you speak a little louder?
Yes, I can.
Perfect, thank you.
Can you see my video okay, Ryan?
Yep, can see it. Perfect, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, Rachel, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, thank you. Mhm.
Good evening, everyone. And I'm looking for participants online. I think we may have the mayor online from Ottawa, from the nation's capital. Mayor Tate, are you available?
Yes, I am here. I'm just using a different device, so I have to figure out. I forgot a necessary cable.
Okay.
There. Can you
I
see me?
will
You
look
can hear me.
for,
Yeah.
I'll look for your hand to go up and maybe you could signal me or something like that, and I'll defer to staff to keep an eye in case the Mayor Tate has any questions. Okay, and also Councillor McMath was planning on joining online as well tonight.
She's not online yet.
She's not online yet. If she joins sometime later, can we be notified? Thank you. So first order of business, I'll call to order the meeting of October the 27th, 2025 regular council meeting. Like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territories of the Sooke and Shiano Nation, and they've been stewards of our land since time immemorial, and we're grateful. So before I jump into the approval of the agenda, a number of people reached out to me today and asked me a question about Mayor Tate. They heard some news on the radio this morning, and I can't help but think that it would be really, really nice to say thank you to Mayor Tate for 15 years in the chair. Whether we're political adversaries or whether we get along, it takes a tremendous amount of courage to put your name forward for political office. And Mayor Tate has done so with style, with grace, and I, for one, on behalf of council tonight, because I get to say it, I'm very thankful for her service to our community. So thank you, Mayor Tate.
Oh, well, thank you. It's in 17 years, though.
And 17 years, yes. Well, I wasn't counting this next year yet. So, and the reason I'm here is because Mayor Tate is first string, I'm second string, and how appropriate on the World Series night that the third string mayor is in place. So let's go, Jays, go. So call for a motion to the approval of tonight's agenda. So moved by Councillor Beto, seconded by Councillor St. Pierre. And first order of business is the adoption of minute. Oh, sorry, I didn't call the question. All those in favor? That's unanimous, and I'm kind of looking to the screen. Sorry, a little bit quick there. So first order of business, adoption of the minutes. Are we going to move those in a block? Regular council, I'm not going to read them out. So moved by Councillor St. Pierre, seconded by Councillor Bateman. All those in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. Item 5, delegations. 5.1, Foundry Sooke Thrive Social Services Society, Kathy Easton. You come to the microphone and introduce yourself, please.
Thank you so much, Councillor Bateman, for inviting. Okay, we need a couple of chairs. The only community I've been invited to sit during a presentation, so thank you very much for warmly welcoming us tonight. I'm Kathy Easton. I'm the Director of Implementation for the Foundry, West Shore, Sooke, and Port Renfrew region. With me tonight is Haley David. She's a fourth-year University of Victoria student in the nursing program doing a practicum. So I've been asked her to join me tonight for part of the presentation. I have been working in this community and across the West Shore region for the last approximately 20 years in public service with public health program of Island Health, until the opportunity to work on this very impactful project came up last year, and I moved to work for Thrive Social Services. So I have a long and deep relationship with the community, and I'm grateful to work on the lands of the Chianu and Pachidat nations here in this community. We appreciate Sooke's support in our application for a foundry. Back in fall of 2023, we applied to have a foundry for this region and really appreciate the letter of support that you sent along in that presentation. We have had one of the strongest applications for a foundry in this region, and it's because of the collaboration that we enjoy as a member of the Village Initiative. The District of Sooke is one of those members. The Village Initiative is a collaborative network of municipal nonprofits and local governments, school district, health, etc., that come together with an effort to collaborate. And so when the call for a foundry came up, then those members all came together to write that proposal, and that table selected Thrive Social Services to be the lead agency. So just a little bit of history of how this initiative came to be as one of many municipal, intermunicipal kinds of initiatives that the village tries to promote. I'll turn it over to Haley to tell you more about what a foundry is.
So knowing what Foundry is an important place to start. Foundry aims to support young people aged 12 to 24 in many dimensions of their health and well-being. Youth can access a variety of services all in one location. For example, Foundry offers mental health care and substance use services like virtual or in-person counseling and workshops like naloxone training. It takes care of physical and sexual health needs, offering primary care or walk-in style appointments and education opportunities. It offers peer supports for both young people and their caregivers, regardless of whether the young person that belongs to the caregiver accesses Foundry on their own. Youth can also access social services like education and employment workshops, or enjoy wellness activities like fun and therapeutic art sessions. Specific Indigenous health supports are also available at Foundry. As I mentioned, caregivers and families are also included as they play a crucial role in a young person's well-being. All families are different, and whoever a young person defines as supportive advocate counts as a caregiver. Services for families include walk-in counseling, family and peer support therapy, or education groups. And Foundry services can be accessed without the need for a referral, and folks can just walk in and be connected to the service that they need. There's no wait lists, no fees, and nobody is turned away because their problem isn't serious enough for specialized supports. Foundry is designed to be culturally safe, inclusive space that is friendly and welcoming for youth. You can see some pictures of the space that youth in communities that already have foundries have helped to design. Since Foundry is for youth, by youth, there's heavy consultation with local young people during all stages of Foundry development. And Foundry follows a provincially, nationally, and internationally validated model, so we know Foundries work. Based on feedback from youth who have accessed Foundries in other communities, we know that upon the first visit, there were high levels of distress, poor mental health ratings among youth, and that half had had thoughts of suicide in the 3 months prior. After services were accessed, the vast majority were satisfied with the services, agreed that the all-in-one location made it easier to get help, and would suggest Foundry to a friend. 91% of those youth felt well equipped to manage their health situation because of Foundry. And a group of EMCS youth kindly took time out of their day to share their wants and needs in the context of health and social services in Sooke. They were really excited to be heard. They identified several resources that Sooke already has, like the nurse at school on Wednesdays and the community walk-in clinic. However, they also identified that the availability of those services is limited, and there are lots of people in this community who need care. Though care can often be accessed further into town or into Victoria, a central location in Sooke where they can go for help is needed. They identified service needs that are consistent with Foundry's model. They want employment and education support services, and they want to learn how to keep themselves and their friends safe through peer support training. They were very excited about the wellness activities that Foundry can provide, and they value that services can be booked or drop in person, or virtual, individual or in groups. They also think that the caregiver and family resources will be beneficial for their community. Lastly, they want services that are confidential and do not have barriers like long wait times and complicated referral or qualification processes. They want to see providers that are well-versed in the issues that youth today face, and Foundry is a great place for all of this in one convenient package. Thanks.
So I've been working on this project for the last year. We've established a leadership advisory circle of which Councillor Bateman is part and helps to provide the perspective of Sooke to that table, along with some other municipalities and the executive directors of a number of service providers that will be coming into Foundry when it's a reality. We're faced though with, I'm sure you'll not be surprised, the challenge of the West Shore growing so quickly. We're looking for 8,500 square feet for the Foundry, plus a few thousand square feet to grow into. We were recommended to look for 8,500, but anyone who knows these communities knows we're going to shortly be out of space. So our aim is for 10,000 square feet. The young people and service providers said we had to be, for the West Shore Hub, be in 3 key areas in that downtown Colwood, downtown Langford, or Belmont area are the most accessible right now. Those are also most challenging places to find real estate, especially of that size, and quite expensive, which is true across the West Shore and Sooke. We have continued to engage partners in Sooke around potential locations here. We'll need a much smaller size footprint for services out in Sooke, but we'll need to focus on getting the larger hub open, getting the services up and running to be able to then shift them out to Sooke and have services here. And we were anticipating a timeline of about 2027 before we really start to dig in and work on the Sooke spoke. We have taken some time. We had a couple of properties in mind through the summer, and we actually put in an offer on one property in Langford earlier this year. However, the developer needed the space themselves, and so those sites didn't work out. It was good for our board to work through that and do the financial analysis on a real example of what it's really going to cost us and what it's really going to take to open that Foundry hub. We are exploring with the not getting that property, it did give us a chance to relook at things, and we're exploring other financial opportunities like blended financing that it could include community bonds and other sources of acquiring debt that aren't traditional bank loans. So giving us lots more time to look at the financial blend. We have secured quite an amount of funding to get us started. With the announcement of the Foundry, there was an announcement. We are able to access 1.5 million in capital from the Ministry of Health that has been transferred to Foundry BC and is sitting there waiting for us. So we have the money has been set aside. There's an additional 400,000 in non-construction costs that has been also set aside for us. And Thrive Social Services Board has committed $750,000 to the capital project as an incentive to donor match. In operating funds, the Ministry of Health through Foundry BC has committed $1 million a year in operating costs. And the City of Langford, in recognition of the costs of operating and the costs of potentially leasing or just paying off the debt, has committed $500,000 to Foundry. And so that is a significant investment from a municipality, and they wrote letters to all of the other municipalities sharing news of their pledge of that first $500,000 and encouraged other municipalities to do the same. In response, I also sent a letter so that you'd know how much we were looking to raise. And I've, based on today's presentation, just to give you a bit of an understanding about the context of that ask. So while we have $1 million a year in operating, based on the costs of leasing or operating, managing our own debt, it could potentially cost up to 50% of that $1 million budget to service the debt. And so Foundry Central Office, Foundry BC, would like to see that down around 30% so that we can preserve those funds for new services. Otherwise, we're putting up a building and not adding any additional new services to the community. The building itself will be a significant asset because it does offer the co-work space for the nonprofit sector to come in and provide services at the center, which co-locates. It's part of that integrated model that Haley described. So it does start to take some pressure off the real estate in the community by bringing everyone together in one site. Priorities continue. We continue the search for a property. We look to secure a location in West Shore and then Sooke. We're continuing to raise awareness about the project and engage and confirm partners who will be coming in. Also collecting input from youth, family, and service providers is ongoing. We need to secure foundational lead gifts to launch our fundraising campaign, and we've committed multi-year support to sustain programming. We're looking for champions in the community to host events and introduce potential donors and have start to develop our campaign cabinet. We invite the District of Sooke to be among our founding partners and help in shaping the new legacy for Sooke's young people. As per the letter, the request of Sooke is a 5-year commitment, starting with $30,000 in the first year of operating and increasing to $45,000 in years 2 to 5 to support in matching based on percent of population, the commitment from the city of Langford.
We grow more and more excited about this initiative as we work hard to get closer to opening the doors. When this happens, young people and their families in our community will no longer have to ask, where can we go for help? Because Foundry will be the answer.
Thank you very much for your attention and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for your good work and the presentation tonight. There's some startling numbers in there in the initial part of the presentation. The big one I took away was that the 91% coming out of the program looks like it's a success. So thank you for that good work. I will turn it over to council if anybody has any questions. Councillor Beddoes.
Yes, thank you for that presentation. It's interesting. All those services are certainly much needed in our community. Of course, the devil's in the dollars and the details for sure.
Yes.
Understand that. I'd like a little bit more about the Sooke spoke, or sorry, it's like a hub, eh? I assume the main center would be in Langford, and we would have a spoke or something. Can you elaborate a little bit what that would look like? Because I'm not quite sure.
More consultation is definitely needed. How much of the resources we can share between the two communities. I expect at least a couple of offices, medical, a full Foundry suite of services like Haley described, medical, education, employment, peer support. We'd need several offices to be able to do that. But as far as what size of a facility we're looking for, we haven't really narrowed that down yet.
So the idea is you would have your main staff in Langford and maybe, I'm just guessing, like 2 days a week, somebody's out here doing a workshop or something?
I expect there'd be more more than that needed in Sooke.
Yeah, I suspect,
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I'm asking that is that my experience is a lot of, with all the things that we deal with out in Sooke, is people say, well, go to Langford. And it's not always an easy fact. And, you know,
Yeah.
for someone to go to Langford for different things, you know, it's an hour in, an hour back, if you're lucky, if you get into
Yeah.
traffic that works right. And sometimes the youth just don't have that ability in
Yeah.
First Nations. So
And it's
yeah.
not great, based on my experience, it's not great use of staff time to have them traveling out to Sooke either. So
Yeah.
my expectation would be that there would be a recruitment initiative for Sooke staff to work in the Sooke office.
Okay.
And I expect there's people out here who would want to do that. Through our engagement, there's definitely people who are interested in working in a center for youth.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bateman.
Okay, thank you for that presentation, both of you. It's been fascinating to be on this advisory group with representatives, Mayor Kobayashi is part of that, Mayor Goodmanson, and School District 62, a whole range of people, Island Health. In terms of process here, in terms of your ask tonight, I was planning to bring a notice of motion forward for consideration of this funding in our 2026 budget considerations. So that would get it into the mix for consideration alongside all the other asks of our community. So I think that would be the process. And just in terms of the Foundry model, I think there's 16 communities in BC have them, with another dozen have been approved. So it's a truly successful model that, yes?
Yes, 18 are now open.
Okay.
Birch Lake last week opened, and I believe 35 in progress. Maybe that brings that down to 34 in process in the province. And this is happening in all of the provinces in Canada, and it's also an international initiative. So.
Yeah. So my question was, are other local governments stepping up? I know Langford is doing so in this case. In these other communities?
I don't have an answer.
You don't have an
to
answer for that,
yet.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Everybody's doing their 2026 budget discussions now
Okay.
at the same time. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor St. Pierre.
Thank you, Chair. My question might sound a little presumptuous because I'm sure it's already been thought of by, lots of good people at the table and so on, but it feels like because the spoke would be somewhat smaller, it hasn't yet been quite imagined. I'm sure you're considering local partners that, or co-location or working together on a build. You've got obviously resources available.
Mhm.
I feel like there's got to be someone in the community that would actually appreciate the boost of energy initiative and honestly funding that would come with working with such a great program. So I'm assuming this is happening.
Yes, I might have briefly mentioned that in the presentation, but absolutely engaged with a number of Sooke partners, service providers that are already operating in the community, as well as those that are undertaking building initiatives that might be coming online in a few years.
Okay, that's perfect because realistically, you're not looking at pulling a building out of the ground in Sooke. You don't need that much space.
No.
And it's way too expensive.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
So Councillor Holding.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the report, and it would be great to have money to do all this stuff. I mean, if you look at it from a District of Sooke point of view, from my eyes, I mean, we have 4,500 people in our town without a doctor, and we're requiring doctors, and they're going to come at a cost. If you see Langford's doing it, Colwood's doing it, and the municipalities themselves are paying for that. So the people aren't left out and having to use emergency. We have RCMP that wants more officers. We have a huge housing crisis, obviously. Homelessness, drug rehabilitation, food banks are eating up any amount of money we can come up with, and that's a subsidy to people at the bottom end who can't afford, lifestyle living and that in our community. And of course, we've got roads and sidewalks and everything else. So to try and budget all this in and keep our taxes reasonable for citizens and our community and stuff. And I would love to have the extra money and think that we could put it your way for what's a great program. But at this point, I mean, you hear it from Carney himself that we have to tighten up we have to do more with less. And I don't know where we're going to come up with that kind of funding, but I wish we had it. I just don't see it being a popular move at this point because of tax implications all the way around for everything that we're looking for. So, but I totally appreciate you coming forward.
I absolutely understand the challenges that you all face and appreciate your service to your community. And I would suggest that this is one of the most upstream approaches that you can take to prevent some of those downstream challenges that you're currently facing. The recent coroner's report and a article in the Globe and Mail this weekend would indicate that creating safe spaces for youth and community are one of the most preventative activities that can be undertaken. So yeah, I understand today's reality. It's tough.
Well, I think it's gotten past youth even now. We're at the point where middle class and people who are 30 and 40 and 50, they're looking for support. They have, things that they're going through with lifestyle changes, with marriage situations, with children, getting caught in some of these, situations and stuff. So, I mean, we need this program really across the line for everybody. So, yeah.
Thank you. Mayor Tate, do you have any comments?
Just a comment. Thank you very much for being with us tonight and for sharing this information. I look forward to Councillor Bateman's notice of motion so that we can see where we're landing with everything. I do agree fully that this is the most upstream approach we could take in investing in young people and setting them up for success. There's very little beyond us heading out to Port Renfrew. And for young people who are struggling, it's not easy to find that help and to just seek it out in another community. And all those other communities are equally just as busy. So I think I'm really glad that you're here and I appreciate the work. And I look forward to having a more fulsome conversation with council when we enter into budget. So I look forward to that, Councillor Bateman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Tate. I won't add any comments. I guess I would look for a motion to receive the report for information. Oh, sorry, another question, Councillor St. Pierre? Yes, sir.
I think that upstream sounds complicated sometimes, but I think we can just point out that if taxpayers want to spend a little bit of money now, we can have future taxpayers in the future instead of people that are actually going to cost us our taxes in the future. So it costs way less to actually turn someone to a future taxpayer than a future drain on our coffers. Now, it's going to cost more in the moment, but in 10 or 20 years, it pays for itself many times over. That's what that means, upstream.
Okay, I've received President, I've received a motion to accept for information from Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor Beddoes. All those in favor? Thank you for your presentation tonight. Next up, we have 5.2 Community Social Planning Council of Greater Victoria Point in Time Count findings. Ms. Shelley Cook. Absolutely. Just introduce yourself before you start speaking. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight. Certainly our pleasure. My name is Dr. Shelley Cook. I'm the Executive Director of Community Social Planning Council of Greater Victoria, and I'll let Jenna introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Jenna Ostook. I'm a researcher at Community Social Planning Council and was the coordinator for the point in time count.
Thank you so much. So we just wanted the opportunity to come and provide you with some highlights from the point in time count that was fairly recently released. And so we'll just discuss some key highlights, and we can certainly direct you to the full document if you want to dive into the details. So a point in time count is a federally funded approach to estimating homelessness that involves a couple different components. It involves enumeration, so counting of people who are considered homeless, as well as surveying. What the surveying does, it allows us to really better understand the needs and situations for the people who are involved, who are living in various states of homelessness. So we take a regional approach to estimating, to enumerating and surveying homelessness, which is very important because we need to be working at the same scale that the problem exists. So what that meant for us is 45 survey routes across the CRD from Sydney to Sooke. And so those were routes to do the survey and make sure that people were included and ensuring that we were involving community groups and important partners so that no one was left out of the conversation. And we hosted 5 magnet events, including one in at the Salvation Army Connection Point, which was a really good location. So what that allows us is to draw on people from the surrounding community to ensure that everyone has a chance to participate in the survey, that we're targeting important populations like youth. We're looking at sort of Indigenous people, making sure that those groups are well represented so that we get a really good sense of the issues experienced by the people who are counted. I think it's really important to underscore that we know this is an undercount. This is not representative of the number of people who are experiencing homelessness, but it gives us a sense. Right? And it gives us a sense of we're moving in the right direction. And the surveying is really what is so helpful to really dig into the issue. So I'll get into some of that discussion now. So in 2025, it was 1,749 people were identified as being unhoused. So those are people in various states, including we had 318 who were completely unsheltered. Okay, so a lot of them may be in transitional housing, emergency shelters, in say city cells, things like that, where they're temporarily housed and will be on the street the next day. It was really important for us to get at some of these issues. So we did a couple of changes, working closely with our community around the count to really get at a few things, including people's home community. So we had asked people about where they considered their home community. So we saw 72% identified Victoria as their home community, but 28% indicated that it was areas outside of Victoria. So you also have to keep in mind that people are quite motivated probably to maybe not answer that accurately because they're seeking services in Victoria and there's a lot of concern. People aren't going to get those services. If I say I'm from Sooke, I'm from Langford, that may be an issue. So I think it's important to keep in mind. So it gave us a sense that we know this is a regional issue with regional scope. I'm just going to see. Yeah, I think we can move on to the next slide. Yeah. Great. Thank you. There's a lot going on here, and we didn't want to take up too much time, knowing that we could probably spend like 3 hours talking to you about the count. And certainly you can dive into different aspects of it. What this slide is really talking about here is really highlighting some really important issues. So the first graph is the reasons for not choosing to stay in a shelter. So what we were able to find out last year, or pardon me, that was 2023, is what was the number, Jenna? It was, yeah, 2023 for the, I can find it. That's okay, Jenna. It's 29. Sorry. It was 29% in 2023 for people who said they did not want to stay in shelter because of fear of safety. This year, it was 47%. So we've seen a marked increase in people who are not wanting to stay in shelter because of a fear of safety. 76% of all people indicated that they had a reason for not wanting to stay in shelter. So that's telling us a lot about how people feel about accessing shelters. And that's obviously a big concern since that's a big sort of point of contact for people into this homelessness serving system. So the next graph over, most reported service need, which was really interesting to us. And one thing I really want to point out here is these are basic life-sustaining needs. People weren't actually talking and no one really identified housing specifically. So we're talking about primary care, food, mental health, because mental health seems to be touching so much, including the last presentation that was so accurately captured some of the concerns. And identification was number 4 And I think what's important about that is ID is that key to unlock all those other services. So what that's saying is people are just having a really hard time getting really basic needs met. In terms of priority health challenges, we see some very complex needs. Here again, we disaggregated some of the questions to get at a little bit of a better understanding of what some of those health issues were, including intellectual and developmental disability. That was sort of mixed in with other questions. So we were able to tease that out. 18% is staggering for people with an intellectual or developmental disability. These are some of the most vulnerable people, keeping in mind that many have multiple overlapping priority health challenges. Which brings us to the graph on the far right. This is indicating the number of disabilities that people reported having. So we know that 87% of the people surveyed indicated that they had at least one disability. 56% are reporting 3 or more. So it wouldn't be uncommon, for example, for someone to report an intellectual disability, to have a physical disability and a mental health issue as well. So these are very, very complex issues. What this is also telling us that some of the people who have the most complex issues are having the hardest time getting their very basic needs met, including access to food and primary health care. And so this is a 5% increase in numbers over 2023. It looks like we'll be doing counts probably as a community every 2 or 3 years, the surveying piece and then enumeration in between. So we'll have a fairly, I think, consistent data over time, but we are seeing it as a growing concern in areas across the region, and particular vehicular homelessness seems to be a common transition point as people are trying to stave off homelessness and use whatever means they have, including sleeping in their vehicles or other types of vehicles that wouldn't be considered traditional forms of housing. So that is our presentation, just to sort of give you the high level. Certainly we have lots of opportunity to address any questions. You can find the full report. We would send it to you. It's very big and it's very hard to send by email, but it's at communitycouncil.ca under our publications. And there's also a technical appendix that gives you some significant details, including details about information in Sooke.
Thank you. Thank you for that chilling report. Could I trouble you to send it to our corporate officer, the report, and then have it distributed to council? Yeah, thank you. There's some alarming numbers, and I have a, oh, sorry.
Also, just through the chair, just to mention that Councillor McMath is also online. She came online a little while back.
Okay.
Didn't want to interrupt.
Welcome, Councillor McMath. So a lot of information, and you spoke quickly, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of statistics in there.
Yes, there is.
I always have a question. So when we do the count, and you've got, I think it was 47% not wanting to stay in shelter.
Yeah.
When you have a number like 47% of unhoused people not wanting to stay in shelter, is there the capacity for those 47% to stay in a shelter?
There was actually 76% had a reason for not wanting to stay in shelter. It was 47 didn't want to stay because of fear of safety and concern. So their worry was theft, assault, right? Just general safety concerns. So I think there's capacity issues, significant capacity issues. I think that's getting at something else that's going on within the shelters, and the fact that we may be seeing populations that are new and may have a different expectation around shelters, and they're going into these environments and being quite surprised and quite concerned by what they're seeing. So no, we are lacking capacity in terms of supporting people in all sorts of ways.
Okay, and which you've kind of answered my second question is that what preventative measures are we putting in place so that the 47% who are feeling fear, what are we doing? Like, I mean, and maybe it's not in your bailiwick, but how are we alleviating that fear? Or what programs are in place?
Yeah, I think as an organization, what we certainly do is seek to understand that better and understand what's going on. That's causing people to be concerned and fearful and dig into the specifics so we can help inform policy and practices at sort of an organizational level. So there won't be those concerns. I think this is a lot about a lack of investment within the nonprofit sector, a reduction in staffing. It seems to be a common thing. Jenna and I were talking on the way out about just low levels of staffing, and that has an impact, right? And often where people are not compensated well, you get high levels of turnover. So low staff, high levels of turnover, you get a young, pretty inexperienced staff team as well. I think it is the complexity of the issues that people are facing, right? Compounding really complex mental health, addictions issues. We're seeing physical health problems that we haven't seen. So I think it's a combined effect of multiple things. And I think organizations are struggling very hard to try and address what they're being faced with in terms of the need. At the same time, they just don't have the organizational capacity. There's additional training, support. There's a lot of things that are going on. So I don't think one program, unfortunately, is going to solve this. It's going to require, I think, a lot of investment in the sector and really supporting workers at different points.
Yeah, thank you for that answer.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Before I look at them, do Councillor McMath or Councillor or Mayor Maya Tate wish to comment? We'll break up the order. The mayor saying no. Councillor McMath, anything?
thank you.
So we didn't hear you. Okay, so Councillor St. Pierre.
Just to follow up on our chair's question, when I saw those stats, especially the amazing increase, one of the questions that came to mind for me was, has the population looking for services changed to the point where the population is different, and so they're afraid to access the services? So these would be people that maybe perhaps recently lost their apartment, their home. This is not something they've known. They haven't been on the street that long, and now they're being told, okay, go to a shelter, and they're thinking, no way. So are these, I guess what I'm asking is, are we looking at a lot more people just experiencing homelessness for the first time, and because of it, really not ready to go to a shelter where they're afraid of what might happen?
Yeah, and having different expectations of what that might look like potentially. And that's one thing we surmise, we think might be happening, is just an expanded population and people who maybe have a different expectation. What we do know is the importance of focusing on prevention programs and and here again with upstream, but ensuring that there are supports in place for people who are at risk of homelessness, right? So programs like our rent bank, programs that help prevent and housing navigation to help prevent that. But we are seeing a massive increase in vehicular homelessness. And this is something that we as an organization have a real need to dig into to better understand, because it is taking shape in different ways across the region, but vehicular homelessness is on the rise everywhere. And so, for example, in Victoria, we may see it along Dallas Road and people in big box stores, to out in rural areas along the sides of highways, turned off on sort of less access roads. And so I think that there are a number of factors. It's a growing population with different expectations of the homelessness serving system and what that looks like. Traditionally, it was older men who may have had a drinking problem. That is the old homelessness. The new homelessness really reflects a wide range from young to old and all possible needs and demographics, including, as I pointed out in that slide, which the health stuff is super, super concerning, because these are people who are extremely vulnerable and we are not helping them. Affordability, vulnerability, and people falling through multiple different cracks in the service systems.
Go ahead.
Right. I'm just curious as to whether or not your survey also included, when you say vehicular, does that include people in recreational vehicle RVs? Were you able to capture those statistics as well?
We did not capture the full breadth or even a strong sense of vehicular homelessness for lots of reasons. One of them is the fact that if we start talking about where people are located, they will get removed. right? Which is a huge issue. So there's kind of an ethical issue around all of this until we have some solutions and highlighting where people are. So we know, and I know this from other regions, so it's people sleeping in vehicles, it's people sleeping in old campers, RVs, it's people who may be parked on a back lot, who may be getting access to some electricity and some water through maybe a homeowner, right? There are all sorts of shapes that people, and including I worked with somebody who was in a yurt, right? All sorts of housing that may not be by health standards, by municipal standards, considered appropriate housing, but it is their last option before they end up in a shelter system they don't want to be in.
Councillor Beddoes.
Yeah, thank you for that report. I'm sorry to say I'm not surprised.
No.
There was not
It's
one
the
figure in there that I was not aware of. I've done some work with the food bank, still do, and the homeless situation we have at the Hope Simmer Hummingbird Center. One of the things that we did out here, just for your information, is that the food bank, instead of having some of these marginal people that scare people come to the food bank, they go to them at the Hope Center. So there's a lot of people that are afraid for their safety to come and get food. And they've not solved it, but they've made it a lot better in that they actually go to the Hope Center and give food there. And a lot of the people they're scary looking as opposed to actually scary. Some are scary too, but for the most part. So no, I'm not surprised. And there is a tremendous amount of people living out of their cars. And another program, which you might be aware of, is they have a lunch program here at the Hummingbird Center for those people living in their cars can pick up a lunch and they're working, but they can't afford a place to live. So it is a huge problem. And I wish I had the magic wand to make it go away, but it's unfortunately where we are today. So thank you for your work. It's always good to have the stats to know that people are afraid to go to these shelters. And that makes us all a bit more aware, saying, oh, well, they've got a place to go. Well, it's pretty scary in some of those places. Would you want to go down to Pandora Street at any given time? I sure the hell wouldn't. So, I mean, that scares people away. So thank you for that presentation. Appreciate it very much.
If I may just respond to that, I think that's such a good point because people will say the shelters, they don't want housing. I think what this tells us is there's lots of really thoughtful reasons, really reasons due to their safety and well-being. People are not accessing shelters. They want housing. It's just not the type of housing that they feel comfortable with.
Councillor Bateman.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Cook and colleague. Yes, that was good. It's interesting, the metrics are so critical here, right? As you and multiple organizations do their advocacy to the province, of course, and the federal government. It's interesting, the Sooke shelter, in fact, the point in time count back in 2018 here in Sooke identified, I think, 49 people who were unhoused at the time of that one night or one day count. And that led to the establishment of the Sooke shelter itself. BC Housing got on side. I'm curious, how do you see local governments advocating with the numbers you've got here? I was like, Jenna, you can, she may not want to respond to that one. We have been having nothing but conversations around regional approaches and the importance of taking a regional approach to complex issues that exist at a regional scale. I think it is an ongoing conversation. I think it's one that is happening at a number of different levels. And I think it's really scary for municipalities, right? To think about entering in and addressing issues that they may feel very uncomfortable with addressing on a number of levels. So I think it's really important to think about a regional strategy that builds on the strengths of different communities and recognizes where every community is at and thinks about that on a regional scale. So we're not dropping 3 shelters in Sooke and 3 supportive housing buildings, a block away. We're thinking about how and where people are coming from in community, where they live, where their home communities are. And we're thinking about the different types of housing that is
needed and building on the strengths that exist within existing municipalities. I think those conversations, Councillor Bateman, will go a lot more than just saying, look, you have to take your share and everybody's got a piece of the problem. Is thinking about how we do this in a really smart way as a region and respecting those strengths of every community and trying to support those.
So I know at the UBCM conference, the executive put through a motion that was adopted on regional approaches. Now here in Greater Victoria, we've lost the coalition to end homelessness in Greater Victoria. So I guess, anyway, that's an evolving matter. I just wanted to close. I've heard you in the past mention that return on investment. Right. So it's $1 will generate, I think, $4 in savings down the road. Seven.
Yeah. Just to your point, Councillor St. Pierre too, we can spend now or spend more later. And we usually can pay $1 now, results in 7 in prevention, saved later on.
Okay.
And it's a common statistic.
Thank you.
Councillor Haldane.
Yeah, thank you very much for that report. I think education's key here. It's a tough situation. We got people that live in vehicles that aren't costing the municipalities anything in the sense that they're not taking up a spot in a building or a low-income housing. But we seem to have little tolerance for it for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you can talking.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. It was a good presentation, and it's in our communities, and it's community wide. And I really like your last statement. And I think best practices across the region are how we're going to get out of this situation, realizing, what are the strengths of Sooke and Langford, and how do we come together and maximize our resources, because we've heard around the table, our resources are this big, but problems this big, and it's on the front of mind for citizens of Sooke as well.
I'm sure.
It's an issue. I think we've done a fairly good job, actually saying a really good job in Sooke of addressing the issues as they come up, but there's still so much more to do. And thank you for your presentation. So
Our pleasure. We're happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
So I would seek a motion to receive for information. Councillor St. Pierre, seconded by Councillor Beddoes. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Item 6, report of the Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you, Your Worship. On behalf of staff, I would like to say thank you to everyone who participated in the OCP discussions. And I don't have anything else to add at this point. The report of the CEO in the agenda package covers everything. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would take a motion to receive the report of the Chief Administrative Officer for information. Moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor St. Pierre. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Item 7, public question and comment period. Okay, and before we start on public question and comment period, with respect to 10.2 on the agenda, the official community plan, the item before council this evening is a procedural motion, specifically whether to rescind second reading of the draft OCP bylaw and give second reading again as amended, so that it may proceed to public hearing. Under sections 32, 13, and 14 of Council Procedure Bylaw number 728 and the Local Government Act, public input on the content of the OCP must be reserved for the public hearing stage. However, this evening, council will allow members of the public to comment only on the procedural question before council. That is, whether or not to rescind and give second reading as amended to advance the bylaw to public hearing. Please keep your comments focused on this process questions only. Comments on the content or policies within the OCP itself must wait until the public hearing, where everyone will have an equal opportunity to be heard on the contents. When you are called, please begin by stating your name for the record and limit your remarks to whether you support or do not support the council proceeding with procedural motion this evening. Thank you. So hopefully that was clear for everybody in the room. So we're going to talk about the procedure of where the OCP is at now, not the contents of the OCP. We're not going to debate the information contained within. Okay. We may, judging by the number, we may make a motion at the end of 20 minutes to extend question and comment period. So we can do that under our current bylaw. So any first-time speakers, come to the microphone, please. Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much. My name is Diane Bernard. My address is 2018 Penang Road, right here in Sooke. And I wish to address the OCP process and the need to move it to public hearing. I'm a former CRD director for the unincorporated area of Sooke, and I'm also a former elected trustee and chair of the school board in District 62. My experiences in that time included public consultation around the construction of EMCS school, the theater. There was a public referendum on the Sooke swimming pool, all interesting at times and highly contentious. It was a very challenging time to bring these things about. And like the current OCP process, which I'm referring to, these past projects raised contentious issues concerning cost, taxation, community input. It was crucial to hold the appropriate level of public consultation before moving it on. So I see many parallels with this, with the current situation right now and what I experienced over the years. The appropriate level of public consultation before moving on, I see it as that you have reached that and that you are facing a very similar situation. And did the consultation do its job? And I have followed and participated in this OCP process. And the most intriguing part for me, I think you did a very good job. The most intriguing part for me was around these consultation kiosks. It was quite different. I hadn't seen anything quite like that. And they were set out in various areas around the municipality. I saw and heard families, seniors, teens examine and talk about various sites and proposals. I don't know their opinions, but what I saw were engaged people offering their insights, comments, and that's thorough process. That is a thorough process, and what a good job that is. I want to say you've done your job. You've done it well. The document, the OCP document, is ready, and it should be moved forward to public hearing. It's now time for the public to have their say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
How long was that?
2 minutes and 11 seconds. I didn't cut you off at the 2 minute because I could tell you were wrapping up. Next.
I'm on, correct?
Correct.
Veronica Pemberton Billing. I live in Sooke. I believe this actually fits into the parameters you just, which is about the process. I think this OCP needs to be withdrawn, and I don't think it should proceed as is. And the fundamental reason is I believe it's outdated, deeply outdated, and now archaic, because it was begun in 2020, I believe, or 2021, during the pandemic. And the entire conversation around climate change has shifted dramatically. And I think, do you think this is public conversation?
Yeah.
Or because I think,
So you're diving into the contents of the
well, not the content is on which it's based, but you think I should talk about the process?
process, please.
Well, the process also then, I think it should not go forward because I think it's being rushed. Despite the fact that it's 5 years old, we're now cramming it in to get it passed by the end of this year or the first week of January so that matches Bill 44. So I think, I mean, I pointed out last week that I thought that the report was a little disingenuous by saying there was strong support based on 6 letters. And I think now the public hearing will be November, December. We're committed to passing this by the end of the year, and I think it's performative. I think that all the consultation that's been rushed forward is performative because anything that comes out of the public meeting will not have sufficient time to be integrated before you want to pass it. So I think this the process is a little bit, well, I'm going to say corrupted in a way. It's not authentic, it's performative. And because of the time pressure, and I respect council, the time pressure to incorporate Bill 44. So I request that Bill 44 be incorporated into the 2010 OCP so that there can be a full and complete consultation about all the elements of this OCP. Thank you.
Right on, Todd. Thank you.
Seems to be a hobbledehoy here. Ellen Lord. I also think the OCP should be rescinded. I never agreed with it in the first place. There's no consultation with the landowners that were affected, i.e. waterfront owners and waterfront people in their properties. Children were asked for their input, and parents are responsible for their children, and parents are the ones that should be deciding. You can ask children all kinds of things. They want to have an ice cream cone and ice cream stands or whatever. It can't happen. I think the procedure was not done properly. I think that we need to go back to the 2010, as well as what Veronica said, put the Bill 44 in there and do a proper process for a new OCP. And in that new OCP, be the 2010 being, what's the word I'm looking for? For the 2010, updating the 2010, which is what we thought we were doing in the first place. And that was when we went to go do the OCP, we were handed, this is Sooke. We handed something like this that already said what was going to happen. So I think the procedure was all wrong. So I think we need to go back. I know we need to go back to 2010 and start over. Thank you. Rescind this. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paula Johansson. I'm living in Sooke. I'm here to speak for Transition Sooke. In addition to 45 active members, Transition Sooke has over 500 supporters who receive our newsletters, attend events we host, and participate in our projects. Transition Sooke drafted a letter in support of this draft OCP, and we submitted it to our 45 active members for approval. The response was overwhelmingly yes. So we sent our support letter October 22nd. We know it's important for our town to be resilient in the times of climate change, resilient and prepared with our climate action plan integrated into the OCP.
Okay, thank you. Oh, any other first-time speakers? Okay, I see one. Okay. Oh, two are coming. Please introduce yourself.
My name's Tracy Clark. I'm a resident of Sooke, and not to belabor the point, but I'm requesting also that council rescind the second reading of the OCP at this time. Thank you.
I'm Susan Belford. I live in sunny Sassinos. Well, the saga of this official community plan is a bit like that movie Groundhog Day, huh? I'm really hoping that today marks the beginning of a shift to sanity regarding the planning of our future here in Sooke. And because of that, I'm speaking in support of the current draft OCP. I just need to say, since 2022, we have been stuck here in Sooke by constant loud repetition of two basic cliches. And I can't talk about those cliches because they're embedded in the OCP. But let me just say that a home built today without energy savings or alternative sources is going to cost more to the buyer for higher heating and cooling costs and eventually costly retrofits. So I think that it's important to recognize that the current OCP gives us a plan, a pathway to becoming a resilient community. And I think that it's important to recognize that well-being of all of our citizens is pretty critical, and that this OCP looks to that and lays out how we can ensure that we have the kind of resilient community that we need to have. I really want to stress that it's time for Sooke to choose a climate resilient, environment loving definition of land use, and it's time for a new OCP to replace the tattered
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rob Peters. I live in Sooke at 2037 Glen Idle. I've been in Sooke 45 years now. I started and still run Sooke Moving and Storage. I'm addressing containers tonight. I did drop off some information with Rose that might give people a little bit of inside information on containers, since I know them well, weight and them compared to other items that are freestanding in Sooke. If containers they're talking about anchoring them down and putting cement slabs and engineers and everything. If containers have to be anchored down with the weight of those compared to other objects that are freestanding in Sooke, are they going to lock down cars and people's little tin sheds and wood sheds and kids' toys in the backyard, like playgrounds and things like that? We would have to lock everything down. Containers actually outweigh most cars, most trucks, and most people have them full, so they weigh twice as much as what the weight says on these slips of paper that I've handed to Rose, so that you guys can get a little bit of information on them. I've placed containers on probably 200 properties in Sooke, including the district of Sooke. I've sold them containers. And I've placed them, they're always placed in closed-in areas. They're not out in the open fields and that, but I've never heard of a container blowing over or an earthquake shaking them up, since they are steel boxes. I think it's not necessary for them to be anchored to the ground and costing that extra expense. We also do a lot of volunteer work in store food banks. Homeless people that don't have a place to live and sleep in cars, we give them deals and everything else. And I think containers in Sooke or anywhere are a very valuable item, because they are cheaper to put on the properties or to buy. And they store goods just as well. I've had them inspected by a fire chief named Steve Sorensen years ago. I spray foam the ceilings. And I also have them well vented. They have numerous vents in them. They caused him no concern to store goods in them. And yes, you shouldn't store propanes or gasolines, but that's common sense.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.
Thank you very much for giving me a few minutes of your time and explaining containers. And if these little papers could be passed around to council or to the district, I think that would open their eyes to see the difference between the weights of those and
thank you.
other items that are freestanding in this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So could I ask our corporate officer to distribute those to council? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other first-time speakers tonight?
Is that on? Okay. Good evening. Dr. Elizabeth Lang with Athabasca University and the Institute of Sustainable Futures. I'm here as a citizen of Sooke, and I am advocating for the OCP to move to public hearing. What I'd like to talk about is just big context. So I'm not talking about anything specific in the OCP, but I would like to lay out two key contextual reasons why I think it's important for it to move into public hearing. Your job is a tough one, trying to balance the interests in this community within the OCP. And of course, there's all the physical infrastructure issues and so forth. I'm here in support of moving the OCP forward as it's currently written and advocating that you move to a public hearing for two particular reasons, information you likely have not seen in other places. First, in my study of other municipalities globally, this plan is well aligned in terms of addressing the climate risks. Several networks of global cities are reporting significant achievements in reducing carbon emissions and building a climate resilient infrastructure. My most important point is a new study just came out by a global insurance leader, summarized in The Guardian, that indicates that without attention to reaching global climate goals, specifically building for future realities, that risk insurance will become increasingly difficult to obtain by people, and they will not be able to pay the rising premiums. Some geographic locations will actually become uninsurable, for instance, LA, due to flood and fire risk. So without insurance, you cannot obtain a mortgage, and all human assets start to be devalued. Australia has already said that disaster recovering spending has increased 7 times in 5 years alone. So rebuilding costs after climate events fall onto governments, and governments are going to be increasingly pressed to be able to do that. So in this scenario, then financial stability begins to fall. So in some,
I know you're going to push it.
I would like to promote that the OCP move forward to forestall such an event and to work towards net zero by 2050.
Thank you. I hope you come to public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, Acting Mayor. Malcolm McNaughton. I'm here on behalf of the Sooke Builders Association this evening. I'd just like to start by saying the first two presentations were very pertinent. In my past life, working with BC Housing, working with those organizations, working to try and prevent homelessness. The OCP, I'm here to speak to 10.2, and the OCP, I understand the resilience. I understand what everybody said tonight, but I'm a little emotional because I also want people to have a place to live. And one of the reasons that we're in a housing crisis and we are where we are is because it's death by 1,000 cuts. And this OCP continues that. And so I would just ask you, before you take a vote tonight, please think about that, and please think about how we get this right so that we can continue to build, yes, in a responsible way, but it allows us to continue to build without adding costs, without a whole bunch of bureaucracy, so that things can move forward, things can get built, and people do have a place to live. So I just urge you to vote against the second reading, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Any other first-time speakers tonight? Thank you.
Helen Ritz, I live in Sooke. I would just like to speak in support of moving the OCP through second reading and moving it on to an OCP. I look forward to that. I also just look forward to us being able, and staff being able to move on to other things that are urgent in our community and are just kind of seems like a big delay. So I'm looking forward to the public hearing. What else did I want to say? I wanted to say on section 14, the correspondence requiring action. I'm looking forward to a discussion on the Broom Hill letter. That's wonderful. I also would hope we would support the Saanich Mayor's request for a review of the impacts of Bill 44. I think that's an excellent idea. we should be seeing what the impacts are, and we can make adjustments if needed. And I'm sure we can make adjustments to our OCP. We've certainly done that over the time, and I suppose we'll be reviewing it every couple of years or 5 years or something. So things are always in flux and always changing, and I would hope we wouldn't continue to delay. And I also wanted to say thank you for 14.3 for pulling my letter about park permit fees. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other first-time speakers? Please introduce yourselves.
Randy Clarkston, Sooke. I'm obviously against moving this forward until some questions have been answered. I've been talking to Jared. Things are going along well, but I have lots of questions that have not been answered, and I think you should rescind it until the public understands what's going on.
Elsie Retaller, and I think this OCP should be rescinded. There's several points in there that I think should not be put through, and one of them is the use of the waterfront, to which, to my knowledge, a lot of them have not been addressed. And people are not aware of what the impact is on the waterfront. So I think it should be rescinded until that is made completely clear.
Hi, my name is Ian Waugh. I live here in Sooke, and I've been listening to this entire conversation, and I'm very much in favor of it going forward for public hearing, because obviously in the public hearing process, you would hear the diversity of viewpoints that you've heard this evening and have more considerate time to deliberate on them. So I would so encourage you to go forward and get this information from the public before you make your final decision. Thank you.
Thank you. One more time. Any first-time speakers tonight? Oh, do your second-time speaker. Yeah, you can come back in a minute, Mr. Okay. Yeah, you could, yep. Step right up. But
Hi, everybody. Rob.
I kind of made a mistake there, but
Thank you.
because you've already spoke one
Yeah,
time.
that was on behalf of the containers, but you know, everybody's voices say rescind the OCP till it's looked into and more information shared, and I agree with that. If we're rushing into something that's the public haven't had their input or know all the information, I think that should be rescinded until we get this ironed out and people know where they go and where they stand on this.
Hi, Lori Retaller. I live in Sooke, and I request to halt the second reading of the official community plan as well. I have a lot of questions that haven't been answered. I don't really understand a lot of this, and I think if we move this forward too quickly, it's just going to make a mess. There's some good things, of course, and everybody's been working hard, but I do believe that it is outdated and we need to address some things before it goes. There's not a clear understanding of what you guys are putting in this. Like, I'm reading it and I'm thinking, okay, what does this mean? How is this going to impact me? And I don't think those answers have been those questions have been answered yet. And I would like a little bit more information before you guys proceed with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more first? Oh, corporate officer? Yes.
Sorry, through the chair, we may want to pass a motion for extra time as we're well beyond the 20 minutes.
Okay.
And so that's all.
So Councillor Bateman?
Yeah, I'll move an extra 10 minutes.
Okay, seconder for that? Okay, all those in favor? And we have to be unanimous, I think on that. So Councillor Tate, or Mayor Tate, sorry. Got it. I can see you over there in the screen there. I don't know if you, I'm waving at you, but I don't know if you're getting it. And Councillor McMath, it does have to be unanimous, this decision, doesn't it?
I'm in favor.
Okay, good. We're unanimous.
Yeah, John Nicholson. What can I talk about? I feel I've been I haven't been part of that process. And I would like it to be stopped until people like me who feel that they weren't heard have a chance again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nicholson.
That's good. Debbie Clarkston, and I'm also from Sooke. I know that there's been a lot of work done on this project, and from the very outset, I asked that we don't rush. We don't have to rush this to the end of December. There's certainly ways around this Bill 44 that's very important to be ratified in whatever state that takes. But I would just ask that you rescind this OCP and allow for more consultation. I think there's many, many, many citizens in Sooke who have no idea about this OCP and even how it impacts them, how it affects them. So I want everybody to have that awareness, and it may require consultation as opposed to survey. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eldon Smith, and thanks to the mayor and council. I'd just like to see it held back too for family reasons and stuff. And like Rob years ago too, can I address the storage container issue?
Are you finished with the OCPs?
Yeah, well, everybody knows Old Sooke and hard to change things, and we like to, investigate a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead with the container.
I bought a container off Rob. I've had it for 15 years. It never moved. And originally when he went to containers, it was because he couldn't get the permits he wanted to build the other part. So should he have to put in 50 some odd foundations now? Doesn't seem right. And they're pretty handy to have. You don't want to have to put your 4-wheel drive in their basement or your garden tools or what have you. So, and that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I will call for one more time for first time speakers. I see somebody's hand coming from behind there. There you go.
Hey, Al Hamilton, Sooke, been a homeowner here for over 30 years. I wish to talk about the sea containers. I'm a little confused here because I thought that was item 11.1, but other people were speaking on it. Everyone's talking about earthquake preparedness and having to anchor these things down. I'm ex-Navy, did 32 years, CFB Esquimalt. Every one of our earthquake e-boxes on that base are not on concrete. They're on hills, and quite frankly, some of them are high up on hills that maybe someday they might come down, maybe not, or the earth below them will solidify and not solidify, liquefy, and they may float away. But there are earthquake boxes, and they are not anchored down. We keep talking about the environment. That's a whole lot of concrete that you have to bring in to put bases down for these. That is not environmentally friendly by any means. Council always talks about trying to be there for the homeowners, the taxpayers. Quick reference, I just quickly looked it up. We're about 40% increase in our property taxes over the last 5 years. And now we want to add another expense onto people who, as we already know, some people are on the edge. Doesn't matter if they own a home, they could be on this close, one payment away from losing their home. And now we want to add another expense to them. And yeah, I'm not in support of that. Thank you.
Thank you. And any other,
Ron Dumont, 7094 West Coast Road. I'm a little concerned. I was involved in the last complete community plan, and that I think is 10 years ago. And every time we try to get forward with this, so much changes in between the time we start and the time we finish. We're climbing uphill and the hill's coming down on us. Everybody wants it perfect, and I'm sorry to say, I don't think God's on this program. Everybody's talking about weather, water, drainage. You got to make a statement sometime. You can't just keep trying to make it better every time. Some of the people on this council have been here for 7.5 years dealing with this. Some have been 4.5 or 3.5, pardon me. And if you don't do something fairly soon, we're going to be in an election and we're going to be starting this whole process again. And it's costing. Somebody has to make a decision, the priority of what we're going to do and when we're going to do it. We can't make it perfect. I can guarantee that. It's not going to be happy for everyone here. But I think that we have to think, get priorities, and continue and get it done. Like I say, it's never going to be perfect for all of us. Thank you.
thank you. Calling one more time for any first-time speakers. Okay. Council, or how are we doing with our time? Corporate officer?
Through the chair, we are now at our 30 minutes. I would recommend that perhaps we not continue to second speakers.
Okay. Is there any, okay, I'll ask the question, corporate officer. Is there anybody who has an urgent issue that they feel that they didn't have addressed in the first time round speakers that would like to speak again? I will entertain 2 more speakers as the chair.
Good, thank you.
If my council backs me up.
Ellen Lors, and your agenda was 1,475 pages, and I know for sure not one of you went through the whole thing. And I tried, okay? So there's no way you went through all the changes that were suggested and all that sort of thing. So you are being asked to put this forward, and you have not looked through that whole thing and all the comments. There's no way, because, I tried. So I don't think that the council has should be doing that because they haven't read it. They don't understand what people are what their issues are, and I don't think that I don't think you should move forward. I think this should be rescinded. one other thing, you know, with this whole 2010 OCP, we had, and I was on there with Ron, we had tremendous amount of people that spoke, and we had a lot of input. And this one was not. It went through the, and I know that Councillor Beddoes was saying, well, maybe we should withdraw this because of COVID during the time. And he was right, we should have pulled it out then, because there was not proper input put into this OCP. It was all done by consultants and staff. Majority. There was not proper consultation with the people. Otherwise, the waterfront owners would not be so upset. Otherwise, a lot of people wouldn't be so upset. And then when you ask people questions at a kiosk or whatever, and you say, how do you feel about the OCP? Well, it's so onerous. You can ask them, oh, I think it's great. Well, how do you know it's great when you can't even read it? You can't understand it. So I think it's not appropriate to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, one more speaker. Thank you.
Veronica Pemberton Billings, Sooke. So I'm going to begin by saying, Mr. Deputy Mayor, you're doing a wonderful job, all of you, in having, and I'm going to ask your indulgence, and if you want to decline it, I would understand.
Okay.
But 3 people that spoke in favor of proceeding with this expanded to speak and give facts about climate change. I would be the one that I'm asking that I can take the next 1 minute and 30 minutes and provide an alternative point of view that is scientific about where we stand with climate change.
Because you asked me, I will decline that offer.
I
And
accept, yeah.
and because the input tonight on the OCP is clearly around process.
Yes.
Right?
Fair enough.
And there,
I would say, sir, is that there is a very different conversation emerging that we don't hear yet and will. So
I'm looking forward to your
great
input at the public hearing.
Thank you. Okay.
If there is one. Okay. That will conclude our. Oh, is there one? Okay. I said 2, you're number 3.
I know, but I just wanted to make sure everybody knows we have been consulting about this for 5 years. Thousands of people have given input to this document. The document has sat untouched for 3 years, while a whole lot of misinformation has circulated in the community, which has resulted in people being afraid for their waterfront properties.
Okay.
That's all I have to say. Please move this on.
Will conclude the public question and comment period. For me, I have had a suggestion that we take a bio break at this point because we've been here for 1.5 hours. Okay, we will reconvene in 6 minutes at 7:40. We'll give us time. Thank you. Nice there, buddy. What's all the shoes? Oh, that's good. It's a nice one. We're back at 7:40. And the next part on the agenda is number 8, the consent agenda. And 8.1, that the following items on the consent agenda be adopted by consent. 8.2, correspondence. 8.3, report of the chief administrative officer. 8.4, Whiff and Spit management options and assessment report. Item 8.5, community service agreement policy. And item 8.6, 2026, what we heard, budget. So moved by Councillor St. Pierre, seconded by Councillor Haldane. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Correspondence. 8.2, October 9th to October 22nd, 2025 correspondence received. That the correspondence from October 9th through October 22nd be received. Does anybody have anything they wish to remove? That's in the correspondence. Oh, in the consent agenda.
8.2, 8.3, 8.4, 8.5, 8.6, if you choose to. You accept? Okay.
Yeah, so go down to 9.1.
Yep.
Oh, I did want to pull one piece of correspondence.
Okay, that was my next
Yeah,
question.
okay. Item 8H.
8H.
Sooke River Bridge, opportunity for enhancement, Sooke Region Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
For the next.
And that'll come forward at the next regular council meeting. Okay. 8.3, Chief Administrative Officer. We've already had a motion to accept that. And Whiff and Spit management, which was included in the committee of the whole meeting last week, community service agreement policy, which was also discussed, which was part of that consent agenda, which will move us right down to 9 reports. 9.1, over to staff.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and councillors. The Memorial Wall project was originally initiated by the Sooke Program of the Arts Committee in 2018 to accommodate a permanent placement for memorial plaques. The memorial plaque contribution policy was adopted in 2019 and contemplates memorial plaques being placed on a memorial structure permanently, which would be the memorial wall, after their time on a bench or other commemorative item has lapsed. In 2021, Council selected Quimper Park as the preferred location for the memorial wall and directed staff to further the design concept and bring it back to Council for approval. Staff have undertaken work to determine the required approvals to construct the memorial wall at Quimper Park and are seeking direction from Council on next steps, given some updated information. 3 options are presented for Council's consideration. Option 1 would be to proceed with the project at Quimper Park as originally requested. Staff have prepared a detailed drawing of a memorial wall structure that can accommodate benches, up to 360 plaques, and a location for artwork, as included in attachment 3 in your report. The design is scaled, so it would not require building permit and associated land use approvals. The design could also be constructed by district staff. However, due to the site constraints, a boulder revetment wall along the foreshore would be required, which involves professional consultants to oversee the portion of the project. This has increased the foreseeable costs. In total, staff estimate the memorial wall at Quimper Park would cost approximately $125,000. Option 2 is to select an alternative location for a memorial wall. While staff acknowledge that the Sooke Program of the Arts Committee preferred Quimper Park, an alternative location with fewer site constraints would result in lower project costs. There are currently memorial plaques located at Whiff and Spit, Ed McGregor Park, and the Marine Boardwalk. As such, Ed McGregor Park may be considered by Council as an alternative location. Utilizing the proposed design included in attachment 3 and park staff for construction, the estimated project budget for this location would be approximately $48,600 for materials, artwork, landscaping, survey work, etc. Option 3 for consideration is to not proceed with a memorial wall and update the policy. The memorial plaque contribution policy was adopted in 2019 and sets out a procedure for placing plaques on the memorial wall structure. Due to the lack of the wall being constructed, this has resulted in an uncertainty for both current plaque sponsors as well as those inquiring about a new plaque. It's also problematic for staff to administrate the memorial program. Should council decide not to proceed with construction of a memorial wall, staff could be directed to prepare an amendment to the policy that removes reference to the memorial structure. And as such, plaques would be returned to the sponsors after their term has lapsed. So in conclusion, staff recommend that council provide direction on the memorial wall project, given this new information available since project initiation. Thank you.
Okay, I have a few questions, but maybe I'll save them. I would hope that I could get the mayor to comment on this. I don't know if I'm surprising you or not, but do you have any, Mayor Tate, you can hear me, I hope. Do you have any thoughts on this project, Mayor Tate?
Yes, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. This has been going on for some time, and I believe it started actually in Mayor Milne's tenure, where the concept of a memorial wall was came about. It then evolved through the Sooke program of the arts that perhaps a more artistic, like, you know, not just a wall, but something a bit more could be considered. And then the late Brenda Parkinson, while attending FCM out in the Maritimes, noted in one of their parks there was a memorial structure, and it was two very large boulders, or it was rock work with a base, and then at the top there was a large stone that had a keyhole through it, and the plaques were around that. So we examined whether or not we could do something like that. However, the type of rocks that are here versus what was there do not loan themselves well, and it just seemed odd to bring a rock all the way over from the Maritimes across Canada here. And then we looked at, as council may recall, different iterations of this. I appreciate the report that staff has brought forward, as well as what was endorsed through the committee of the whole on the consent agenda, where we learned quite a bit more about whiff and spit in particular, and that we actually are in a current license to occupy, and that the province actually owns that land, and although it is a municipal park. I feel that it's a sensitive matter, but it's one that's very important to our residents. And so I'm prepared to move option 2, to consider an alternative suitable location, namely either Ed McGregor Park or John Phillips Memorial Park. But you know, I don't know if you would like me to, if there's maybe some feedback back, or if it's premature to move that, I'll follow your process there, Chair.
Thank you, and thank you for the review of the process, because you're right, this dates back to Mayor Milne and has significant impact in our community with regards to Councillor Parkinson, who was a spearhead of this particular project. So no, thank you for your words. I will ask others on council for their comments, questions. Councillor Beddoes?
Yeah, I would thank you for that report. This has been kicking around since 7 years that I've been on council. And again, originally it was a work of art, and then it turned into a memorial wall. I do have a little trouble with $125,000. Also, we just received a report about that whole area, and there is a desire to increase the parking. Would not those new parking stalls impact on this location for this memorial wall? And that's a question to staff.
To our Director of Parks?
Certainly. To clarify, the location proposed for this memorial wall at Quimper Park would not be impacted by the future angled parking proposal. That's uphill from this location. This is along the shoreline. And just to comment on Mayor Tate's point, Quimper Park is a municipal parcel adjacent to Whiffen Spit, which is the Crown lands. Just minor detail there.
Thank you. I have one.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't quite finished.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
But that's okay. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I think it's pretty crowded down at Whiffen Spit there as it is. And with the increased parking, and even though we have a little section of it, I'm wondering if it's not better suited somewhere else. So I'm inclined to go with option 2 as well. And I think there's a need for Memorial Park. I think people, especially in the world today of cremations, and sometimes there's not even a burial site for people. They need a spot to go to and remember. And these memorial plaques, my mom and dad have one down at Beacon Hill Park on a bench. It means a lot to me. So I would like to see it go ahead. I'm not so sure that the Whiffen Spit's the best place for it, or Durango Cooper Park. But either Ed McGregor or John Phillips Park would be an ideal spot for it. So, thank you.
Any other counselor? Counselor St. Pierre.
I'm prepared to support the motion as it stands, but did oh, no one seconded?
No, it's just a suggestion.
Just as, okay.
Everybody, I'll make it.
Okay. Whiffen Spit, in our recent discussions, was really described as one of the jewels of Sooke, really one of the main draws. And I think that when people invested for their memories in Whiffen Spit, they had that in mind. And so I think Manuel Quimper is really quite appropriate, and potentially investing might be. And I understand the costs. And I know that when we're looking at, are we going to actually pay for, support for young youth programs or a memorial? It's like, wow, what a choice to make. But I would like to actually just have some discussion around option number 1, because I do think that we have been looking at this for a very long time. This one seems to have more work on it. The other one will leave us deciding on a location, which seems to step us back, I don't know, maybe another term or 2. It might be nice to get it done this millennium. I'm not sure. Just one of those things, just worth considering, I think.
Thank you. Counselor Haldane. Your hand up.
Yeah. Well, we've got the Rotary Club and the Lions Club are always looking for things to sink their teeth into, money wise and whatnot. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, a memorial wall is a nice thing. It's a want. It's not a need for sure. And people want places to remember family members and things like that. But maybe we should put it out there. We're always looking for projects that we can do, maybe with an association or with somebody. But again, we keep coming down to the cost of living here and the taxes and what we're going to keep throwing money at. I mean, we can come up with 1,000 different things to throw $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 at. I mean, this comes without a budget too. So, I mean, we don't know what it is we're asking for or how much we're willing to spend. Do we come up with that during the budget process? How would we do it? I mean, I'm in for option 3. So thank you.
Counselor Bateman.
Yeah, good conversation. I like the looks of option 2, to be honest. When the report came through in 2021, the cost I think was $35,000, and here we are at $124,000. And the Spa Reserve Fund has $136,000 in it, but that's to apply to arts in general across the community. I would like to see option 2 move forward. I believe John Phillips Memorial Park in particular would be a choice location given the expanded parking, and Brenda Parkinson's 2 trees are in close proximity in memorial to her. And I think at $48,000, that's something that the Spa Reserve Fund could absorb while leaving opportunities for public art and other initiatives. So that's my thinking.
Thank you.
So the other point was at Quimper Park, there would be 360 memorial plaques, which that's a significant number. However, when this first came up, we went to Powell River for the Association of Vancouver Island convention, and Powell River has a oceanfront memorial that has well over 2,000 names on it. And it's, it's something that we can look ahead and build for future use. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for all the comments. Question for our Director of Finance, CAO, two hats on tonight. If I recall, did we not set some memorial wall budget aside somewhere along the way? I know that there's the spa reserve fund, but I thought there was a memorial wall fund as well.
Through the chair, I just look at financial statements with all the reserve balances. I don't see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Director of Parks, I see your hand up.
Yeah, we have had a capital project budget line for the past few years that's been rolled over, and how it's actually funded would be for the Director of Finance to comment on the details. But
So it was identified as a line item in capital projects, but we never exercised the project. So it's still sitting in the reserve fund. Is that correct?
the majority of it is still a capital line item.
Is that sounds right, Ms. Luke? I'm not questioning you, Director of Parks. I remembered us talking about the actual cost of it. Oh, yes, sir. Okay, just, I'll make my comments. Oh, maybe I can go ahead, make your motion.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that council select an alternative suitable location for the installation of memorial wall, option 2.
Second by Councillor St. Pierre. Okay, would you care to motivate?
Yeah, I think we've talked about it. It is a tough one too. Boy, it's lovely down at Whiff and Spit, and but I think we have some limited space there. So I'd much rather see it at, personally, we'll let staff come back, see it at John Phillips. That has a lot of history in this community as well. So I think that would be a very good location. It wouldn't be near as expensive as Councillor Bateman said, that we probably, without going back to the taxpayer, we could have probably afford that option. So that's my motivation for option 2.
Thank you. Councillor St. Pierre. Any other comments from council?
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah, okay. Mayor Tate, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the discussion, everyone. Just to clarify a point made by Councillor Beddoes, the wall came first, the art came after. So we tried to combine two kind of separate things into one. To Councillor St. Pierre's point, yeah, I agree. Like Whiff and Spit is a jewel, and the benches and all that, and it's a desirable place. Potentially, it's a place where ashes are scattered. However, it was a park before Ed McGregor and John Phillips also became a park. It was sort of one of the first parks. So it would have been potentially a place for that reason, but also because it is an attractive place. The challenge, and I'm glad this one is on the table, is that we would run out of room there. I have no idea how many people are waiting to either have a plaque reinstalled somewhere. So the ones that had been on benches that had reached end of life, and how many more residents are waiting. So to spend that and to be full, to Councillor Bateman's point, like there's thousands in this place. So yeah, I'm fully on board with number 2. The other thing is that Quimper is finding a more accessible location. In some places, even navigating or getting to Manuel Quimper is a challenge from an accessibility perspective. And also sometimes, while you are overlooking the Spit, the parking lot is busy and there's the pit toilet right next to you. So it's just that context, unfortunately. So I'm fully on board with number two, and to look at either Ed McGregor or John Phillips. John Phillips it is a memorial park for a reason, in addition to late Brenda Parkinson's trees that are there. There is parking, it's reasonably accessible, bit of an incline, and it's also a significant trailhead. And I'm going to use a weird comparative. I was watching reruns of Downton Abbey the other day, and in that, for those of you that may have watched it, that they were looking for a place to recognize those that had served in World War I. And would they put it in the village or out in a quiet area? And resoundingly, the people in that mentioned that they wanted something in the village where they could just say hi to a loved one, or as they passed by. And to me, with John Phillips and it being this focal point for the trailhead and the like, it's sort of in our lives where you can, give a wave to those that are there. And I thought, that's where that may be a suitable place. And McGregor is a bit quieter. There's sort of a lot going on in Ed McGregor, so it may be a bit more challenging to find a suitable location because the park design is kind of complete. But I'll leave it up to staff to come back. And in some ways, let's just focus on what we're doing, and it's the wall. I think it was ambitious to put the art and the memorial piece together. Maybe all we need is like just a plinth. Let's just sort of get it done and have something there, and it's a place where people can remember loved ones. From what I've heard, the cemetery that we have in Sooke is starting to reach capacity, perhaps. And I think it's important that we do have something here in Sooke, so that folks are not having to find alternative locations elsewhere. It's something close to home that they choose. So it would be nice just to get on with this and just see it done. Because to your point, Deputy Mayor, it has been in the budget and talked about for quite some time. It'd be nice just to finish it off. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Haldane.
Yeah, get on with it indeed. We could use local people to maybe build this thing. If nothing else, I mean, I'm not in agreement to number two, but I'd be in agreement if we'd actually tender something locally from the District of Sooke, instead of somebody from Victoria or Vancouver coming over and bringing their own people. Hire local. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McMath, do you have anything to add? I'll take.
I recall, it's been a while now, but Langford did the Sarah Beckett Memorial Park, and they had memorial stones that could be purchased. So it was a collaborative effort between members of the community as well as municipality and a couple other pieces and fundraising sources, which I believe included a couple of club members, could be the Rotary or the Lions Club, I can't recall in this moment. But it would be great if the alternative location could also include like alternative installations and financing for those.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor St. Pierre, one more.
I was wondering if in the spirit of moving this along, if council would agree maybe putting an actual location, because we could put John Phillips Memorial.
Well, that
Just
may
curious,
be
and it's just a thought.
just a thought. Okay, well, we have a motion on floor, so that would be an amendment to the current motion.
Yeah.
I have a couple of comments myself. I really was looking forward personally to having a memorial wall at Whiff and Spit. I think it's a crown jewel of our community. I think that people come home to Sooke. I think that Whiff and Spit is where they always go to. Yes, John Phillips and Ed McGregor are suitable locations, but I really think that a memorial wall would be myself emotionally, I would be attached to one at Whiff and Spit. However, I also understand the limitations, budgets, and all of those things. So I will call the question that has been put on the floor, option 2. That council select an alternative suitable location for the installation of the memorial wall. All those in favor?
In favor.
So council, and all opposed? No one's opposed. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Next on our agenda is 10.1 Traffic and Highway Regulation Amendment Bylaw 931-6707. Traffic and Highway Regulation Amendment Bylaw 931-67-07, 2025. And I believe this is just final adoption. Is that correct? It's moved by Councillor St. Pierre, seconded by Councillor Bateman. All those in favor?
In favor.
Motion is carried unanimously. Okay, 10.2. Official Community Plan OCP Bylaw number 800, second reading as amended. Official Community Plan Bylaw 800, second reading as amended. OCP Attachment 01 OCP Bylaw number 800, Phase 1 Red Line, July 2025. Attachment 2 OCP Bylaw number 800, Phase 2 Red Line, October 2025. Attachment 3 OCP Bylaw number 800, Table of Changes, Phase 1 and Phase 2. Attachment number 4 is a summary of referral comments, and attachment 05, Official Community Plan Bylaw number 800-2022. And that council rescind second reading of the Official Community Plan Bylaw number 800, 2022. So moved by Councillor St. Pierre. Is there seconded by Councillor Beddoes? Any motivation, Councillor?
Procedurally, unless we rescind the bylaw, we can't actually do anything with it. We're basically stuck. It stays forever, so we need to rescind it, given that it's not sufficient.
Yeah, I want to get on with it. We've done lots, so we had a discussion going, but I'm in favor of rescinding it.
Any further discussion? Rescinding.
Okay, I can't hear any. Point of order. Whoever's speaking needs to use a microphone.
Okay, so we've had a motion on the floor. Sorry about that, Mayor Tate. We've had a motion that has been moved and seconded that council rescind second reading of the Official Community Plan Bylaw number 800-2022. We've had motivation by the mover and the seconder, and now we're open for comments from council.
Okay.
Councillor Haldane.
Yeah, just so, I mean, this might, through the chair to corporate officer, I guess. From what I understand, there's no rule saying that you can't talk about stuff during a second reading anyway. So the reason for rescinding is what? So if you could explain that.
Over to our corporate officer. Do you have a?
So the reason that we're rescinding is because the current bylaw as amended has had significant changes. And so the bylaw that had second reading back in 2023, was that correct? 2022. The bylaw in 2022 actually went through public hearing at the time, and then the project got halted. So no matter where you go, we would simply need to rescind, regardless of whether we move forward with the new bylaw proposed today of going for a second reading as amended. It's that the old bylaw has far too many changes at this point. So it's really just rescinding that one and discussing the new bylaw draft as amended.
Thank you, corporate officer. Councillor Haldane, follow up?
Yeah, I guess then, so can I make a motion?
Well, we have a motion on the floor, which we haven't called a question to yet.
Okay.
Unless you're prepared to amend this motion, but this is just rescinding right now.
I'd like to I'd rescind. I just didn't understand why rescinding was necessary when between first and third reading, you're allowed to add and take stuff away. But if we're told that that's the way you want to go, or
Sorry, it's
substantial.
because the changes are substantial enough that you would need to rescind, and because we would need to trigger another public hearing. And so therefore you would have to rescind what was discussed before in order to bring forward a new version.
We've received
amended.
Yeah, and we've received significant information after the public hearing. It's
That's correct.
of the Local Government Act, right?
That is also correct.
Because we're not supposed to. Okay, so, Counselor McMath, any comments?
I just had a question. So if we rescind and we give second to the amended, and then we have another slew of amendments that come, do we have to rescind second again? Or
Well, I think I can answer the question. If that was council's wish, then there would be a public hearing. That would trigger a public hearing. The public hearing would determine what the outcome would be. Information received at the public hearing would become relevant to the adoption of the new bylaw. So rescinding is always an option at any time, right? Is that correct?
That is correct, and it would depend on exactly how much detailed changes would come into the amendments. And so it really depends on the content changes and whether or not you would require to rescind or just make some new amendments to the amended bylaw and moving it forward to third reading. So it really depends on what those changes would reflect.
okay,
Thank you. Did that answer your question, Councillor McMath?
Yes, she did.
It did? Okay. Mayor Tate, do you have a comment? Sorry, I just looked like you were moving your hand. Sorry.
No, I support the motion.
Councillor Bateman, you have your hand up.
I support the motion as well. I had a question through you to staff, and that is, so the public hearing will be on potentially December 8th, I believe, a Monday, December 8th. If indeed that public.
Kind of jumping ahead there. We have to rescind this motion first.
Right.
Sorry, you're asking, I think your question is relevant, however.
It's not appropriate.
Right, it may be in a minute.
Now, I have acres of comments here to make, but I don't think they're necessarily appropriate at this time. So
Call the question.
Okay.
I would certainly take this opportunity to thank staff for the work they've done. This OCP report under item 10.2 captures the work of the current planning department in amending a document that in hindsight, I believe was flawed back in 2022. It's been improved dramatically, clarified. And so I have no problem with rescinding the bylaw we adopted. And yes.
Hearing no more comments,
Okay.
I will call the question. All those in favor of rescinding bylaw?
In favor.
Councillor McMath?
You want me to yell that at you every time? Yeah, I'm in favor.
Okay,
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to get on the floor for discussion.
just only one point of order is Councillor Haldane did ask me if you want to, are you? Or
No, I'd like to make a motion. Yes, please.
Sure.
okay, Councillor Haldane.
I'd like to motion that we send the draft OCB to committee of the whole for public discussion and questions. So we can get clarification basically on this new information and on information that's still sitting in the community.
Okay. Over to corporate officer.
So we're not saying that there's no opportunity for further public input. We're really just trying to bring forward the best possible bylaw, for lack of a better word, best possible amendments forward to council to decide if you want to move that forward into the public hearing for further discussion. And so right now we're at the stage where council needs to bring it so that when we go to public hearing, everyone is speaking to the same content. They're looking at the same content right now. I believe that through all of the public input to date, there could have been some other iterations, but now if you bring forward a second reading of an amended bylaw, which is in the package, you can make amendments to that. Council can further discuss, but the best route forward following legislation would be to bring it to public hearing So council needs to decide what that bylaw looks like with the amendments. That way the public is commenting on the same document.
Okay. Okay, so that triggered a few questions for me. So
Just point of order, is there a motion that's actually been seconded on the floor?
yes, I'll second it for discussion, but
Okay.
okay, so through to the corporate officer from me is that the information that we received in the draft amended bylaw on Thursday, when there's no part of the process for council to review that? Council alone?
So I would say 2 points. One, our manager of planning has not done a full report presentation for you tonight. We kind of skipped right into the motion, and this is your opportunity to start that process. So you do have options. If there are changes you want to make, you can amend what this proposed draft bylaw amendment is. You can pass it as is and follow through with public hearing, get further public information about it, or you could postpone, give further direction to the staff, and they can come back with another option in terms of another, amendment to the bylaw, so that you have something closer to what council is looking for. So there are options this evening. It's just a matter of it's for council to weigh in and for council to discuss. So you don't have to move forward with it as it is. You can make amendments here tonight, or if there are several amendments that want to be made by council, we can postpone so that staff have an opportunity to gather that information from council and bring it forward again. But I did want to mention that there is also still a small presentation from staff as well. So if you wanted to hear that as well before continuing on, we can do that. We didn't listen to the staff.
Okay, well, okay. Then I will defer asking the question and the comment. I would ask for a staff presentation.
Okay. That's what about it, but.
Okay, Councillor McMath?
Sorry, you answered it. I just couldn't get it unstuck.
Okay, thank you. Over to staff.
Thank you. So good evening. This agenda item is presenting OCP bylaw number 800 for consideration of second reading as amended. The following slides will provide an overview of how the OCP has evolved to reach its current stage in the process, the major phases of work and key changes introduced throughout each phase, and how the document now aligns with new provincial legislation and the district's master plans. I'll also have some detailed components, including the updated development permit area framework, provide a brief summary of what we learned through the most recent round of community engagement, and confirm the procedural steps required to move the OCP forward toward adoption prior to the end of the year to keep pace with the provincial mandate and align with previous council direction. So this slide summarizes the OCP development process between 2020 and 2023, which formed the foundation for the work completed this year. Starting in June 2020, it began with a foundational research and a community visioning process led by the OCP Advisory Committee, which met more than 20 times. During this period, the district gathered extensive public feedback with over 2,000 touch points through surveys, workshops, and pop-ups, helping establish the OCP's core vision, goals, and policy structure. The draft plan then went to council for first and second reading and then a public hearing in September 2022, followed by further public input through committee of the whole meetings held in 2023. The process was then paused in the fall of 2023 as a result of new provincial housing requirements under Bill 44. And this set the stage for 2 phases of focused refinement. What we're referring to here is phase 1 and 2. Yeah, so the work conducted on the OCP this year has been guided by 3 clear council milestones. In January 2025, council received the OCP Restart and Next Steps report and endorsed the overall work plan and scope for this project. The direction set the framework for how staff would complete the bylaw update in compliance with Bill 44. This also established a process that required required staff to bring forward a phase 1 red line of the OCP and engagement plan for council's consideration. Then on July 14th, 2025, council considered the phase 1 red line and the proposed engagement plan and endorsed both. Council directed staff to proceed with the final frame engagement, make refinements based on that feedback, and return to council for consideration of amendments. That brings us to today, where staff are presenting the phase 2 red line attached to the report, now fully integrated with the phase 1 red line into a clean version of the bylaw for council's consideration of second reading. Together, these steps have ensured a transparent council-led process that's fully aligned with the legislative requirements of Bill 44. Following council's direction in January and again in July, staff advanced the OCP through a two-phase process. Phase 1 focused on the foundational work, integrating all required Bill 44 housing updates, addressing the feedback from public meetings held in 2022 and 2023, and strengthening the structure, clarity, and consistency of the document. Phase 2 completed this month, built on that foundation through public and targeted stakeholder engagement in September, and incorporated community builder, agency, and legal feedback. The next two slides outline what each phase accomplished in more details. So in phase 1, following council's January direction, staff improved the document's organization readability while keeping the community's vision and goals intact. This work focused on addressing the key issues raised through the 2022 public hearing and 2023 committee of the whole meetings, particularly clarifying development permit area triggers and exemptions and improving consistency between policy sections. Staff modernized references to the district's master plans and removed outdated and overly prescriptive language that created confusion. The result was the phase 1 red line, a clean version dated September 2025, and table of changes, all released publicly to show exactly how and why revisions were made. This provided a transparent base for the next phase of engagement and refinement. So in phase 2, staff incorporated all feedback from the final frame engagement, as well as external agency and internal department and legal reviews that followed. A major focus was again improving development permit area language, including the foreshore DPA, to make triggers, exemptions, and professional requirements clearer and more consistent. These refinements apply across all DPAs, not just the foreshore, but we'll look at DPA 1 and DPA 3 in more detail as an example of how these changes were applied. Regarding Bill 44, the purpose of the legislative changes were threefold: to enable small-scale multi-unit housing, to address the 7 provincially defined housing categories, and to ensure Sooke can accommodate its 20-year housing demand as identified in the Housing Needs Report of approximately 4,737 units. Bill 44 housing updates have been integrated directly into Bylaw 800, ensuring consistency with our existing policy framework. For example, the community residential designation now clearly supports up to 4 dwelling units per lot, consistent with provincial expectations, while maintaining compatibility with neighborhood character and servicing capacity. Section 4.9 housing policies have been expanded to address all 7 housing categories. The framework also ties directly to the transportation, parks and trails, and climate action plans. This approach gives the district a full legislative compliance while keeping housing growth aligned with the community's long-term vision of a compact, connected, and sustainable Sooke. Now, one of the key reasons for updating the development permit area framework was to address the ambiguity and limited guidance that exists under the current OCP bylaw. For example, the existing bylaw contains only 3 broad DPAs intended to address a wide range of objectives, from environmental protection to form and character, resulting in limited clarity and procedural inconsistencies. In practice, this has created uncertainty for both staff and applicants when determining the triggers for a development permit and how to evaluate proposals against the intent of the DPA. In absence of clear objective guidelines, the absence of clear objective guidelines has often required interpretation on a case-by-case basis, leading to inconsistent application and difficulty ensuring fairness and predictability in the review process. The new OCP replaces that with a modernized framework of 9 well-defined DPAs with clear intent statements, triggers, and structured exemptions. Where DP areas overlap, for example, where an environmental DPA intersects with a form and character DPA, applicants submit one development application. Staff then ensure the proposal satisfies all relevant guidelines within that single process. This new framework improves clarity, predictability, and efficiency. It also enhances legal defensibility and ensures the district can deliver a more transparent, service-oriented permitting experience. Overall, this update brings the district's approach in line with current best practices while addressing long-standing interpretation challenges we faced under the existing OCP. DPA 1, energy and water conservation and greenhouse gas emissions reduction, is one of the most substantially revised sections in the updated OCP, as reflected in the Phase 2 red line and table of changes attached to the report. While the intent of this DPA remains the same, to encourage energy efficient site design and water conservation, and to support GHG reduction through land use and building form, following a legal review, we confirmed that municipalities cannot regulate internal building systems or materials covered under the BC Building Code, as outlined in Section 4919 of the Local Government Act. As a result, references to interior systems were removed, and the guidelines now focus squarely on what's within local authority, such as siting, orientation, and landscaping, which directly influence energy performance and water use. However, to maintain Sooke's leadership on climate action, we've reframed the GHG emissions reduction guidelines as this DPA as an informal guidance, encouraging voluntary best practices such as life cycle carbon accounting and GHG reduction strategies. The guidance is clearly noted in the document as non-regulatory, meaning it can't be used to approve or deny a permit, but it provides direction for applicants who want to go further in supporting sustainability goals. The result is a DPA that's legally sound, practical to administer, and still reflects Sooke's commitment to environmental responsibility and climate leadership. I've included an excerpt on this slide from the Phase 2 red line related to DPA 1. As noted, the intent subsection was modified to ensure that DPA 1 more appropriately aligns with the LGA, limiting it to siting and exterior design of buildings for energy and water efficiency. The proposed changes retain reference to support the district's climate and energy efficiency goals, but with neutral implementable wording. An introductory statement was also added to the informational guidance section of DPA 1, which clarifies that these are voluntary best practices, not enforceable requirements. Keeps the OCP consistent with the LGA limits, recognizing that energy performance is regulated through BC Building Code, and encourages innovation, such as reuse of materials, low carbon construction, and waste reduction without creating new regulatory obligations. Overall, it balances the district's climate objectives with a clear, legally sound implementation framework. The foreshore DPA, or DPA 3, was one of the most discussed areas of the OCP, and the Phase 2 red line directly responds to that feedback. Its intent language now clearly applies to land altering activities that affect the 15-meter buffer from the natural high water mark, not routine yard maintenance, which is explicitly exempt. For works that could affect slope stability or habitat, the required level of professional input scales to the level of impact, from a brief memo by an arborist or QEP for small works to more detailed assessments for major shoreline alterations. The 15-meter reference is a guideline, not a fixed setback, and adjustments can be made based on site conditions where a professional confirms slope stability and habitat protection. Finally, we've clarified coordination with archaeology and DFO authorizations so property owners don't face duplicate processes. The result is a balanced, defensible, and practical approach that protects our shorelines and public safety while remaining fair to landowners. This slide includes an excerpt from the Phase 2 red line in relation to the intent section of DPA 3. The revised language has intended to shift the tone from restrictive to balanced and practical, clarify that this DPA applies more specifically to land altering activities like grading, vegetation removal, and structural works, as opposed to residential, commercial, or industrial development, and includes a clear statement that routine yard care and maintenance are exempt. Overall, the proposed changes provide a clear defensible intent and protects the 50-meter shoreline buffer area without the perception of overregulating residents. Sorry. Yeah, another example from the phase 2 red line, specific to the DPA 3 exemptions, shows that we've expanded the exemption list to make everyday property activities clearly excluded, clarify that routine yard work, pruning, and invasive species removal do not require a permit, confirm maintenance of existing structures such as lawns, decks, fences, patios is fully exempt, exempt structures approved by DFO or Transport Canada, and includes an added option for staff to request simple photos or a sketch plan, not as a barrier, but for record keeping and transparency. Overall, the goal is to reduce ambiguity and ensure residents understand what's exempt without needing interpretation. Another key outcome of the OCP update is that the document is now far more readable, accessible, and user-friendly for residents, applicants, staff, and council. Building on the issues we experienced with the existing bylaw 400, bylaw 800 has been reorganized and reformatted for clarity and consistency. The policies are plain language with clear hierarchy of headings and numberings, making it much easier to locate, interpret specific sections. As part of the phase 1 red line, we consolidated the town center, core, and waterfront DPAs into one unified framework to provide a single cohesive set of guidelines for Sooke's primary growth area. We've also updated maps, visuals, and stats, helping users quickly understand the intent of policies without the underlying direction, or without changing the underlying direction. Once adopted, the plan will be hosted in a modern topic-based online format, allowing residents and applicants to easily access relevant sections such as development permit areas, growth management, or land use. Overall, these updates align with best practices, ensuring the OCP is visually clear, transparent, and easy to use while maintaining the professional and legal integrity of a statutory bylaw. Based on the feedback received during the engagement phase, it's important to note that the OCP is a long-range guiding document. It sets the direction for how Sooke will grow and evolve to 2050. It does not directly commit funding or impose new costs upon adoption. Implementation of actions will happen gradually and strategically through Council's strategic plan, the 5-year financial plan, and department work plans. These items will come to Council separately as funding, staff capacity, or grant opportunities become available. This means that no new or immediate financial obligations are created by adopting this plan. In essence, the OCP functions as a roadmap, not a spending plan. It guides future decisions and helps prioritize investments, but leaves the timing and funding decisions firmly within Council's control. The updated OCP maintains the same core community vision that has guided the process from the beginning, being compact, efficient growth centered in the town center, protection of natural assets and rural character, and a continued transition toward a low-carbon, climate-resilient future. Through both phases of revisions, staff work to ensure that the plan reflects Council's strategic priorities and the values expressed by the community, balancing environmental protection, housing diversity, and economic opportunity. The plan recognizes that the public interest is multifaceted. Residents want strong environmental safeguards and green space, a range of housing choices, and a development process that is transparent and predictable. The updated OCP supports these goals with clear policies, consistent guidelines, and proportionate regulatory tools, maintaining environmental integrity while providing confidence and predictability for applicants and investors. This ensures Sooke remains open for business, welcoming responsible investment and well-managed growth that supports rather than compromises community values. The final frame engagement gave us valuable insight from both residents and the development community. From residents, we heard broad support for the direction of the revised OCP, particularly its focus on compact, connected growth, the protection of natural areas, and the importance of green space. There's also strong reinforcement for the need for fiscal responsibility, with many participants emphasizing that OCP implementation should be phased and within existing capacity. The development community feedback was constructive and detailed. The focus was on improving clarity and interpretation, especially around development permit area triggers and exemptions, and ensuring environmental review remains efficient and predictable. Together, these perspectives highlight shared goals of clarity, predictability, and balanced growth. The phase 2 refinements directly reflect that input, striking a balance between community expectations and practical implementation for those delivering housing and development in Sooke. Before an OCP can be adopted, certain external reviews and endorsements are required, and I can confirm that all approvals for OCP bylaw number 800 are in place. The CRD board has accepted the regional context statement, confirming that our OCP aligns with the regional growth strategy, and the ALR or the ALC has also completed its review and raised no objections. In short, there are no outstanding external steps. Once council rereads the bylaw as amended and holds the public hearing, the OCP will be ready for third reading and final adoption. This means the district is in good standing and position to move smoothly towards having a fully compliant modern OCP in place before the end of the year. In closing, OCP bylaw number 800 represents the culmination of 5 years of community dialogue, technical review, and council leadership. The document before you is comprehensive, consistent, and future-focused. It integrates all required Bill 44 housing updates, aligns with the district's master plans, and ensures that environmental stewardship, housing delivery, and infrastructure planning move forward together in one coordinated framework. The updated OCP provides clear and implementable path for managing growth to 2050, one that balances the community's long-term vision and practical and legal with practical and legally sound policies and guidelines. It reflects what residents have consistently told us: protect the environment, keep growth compact and connected, and remain fiscally responsible while welcoming the right kind of investment. In terms of next steps, staff are recommending that council rescind the previous second reading of OCP bylaw number 800 to recognize that the bylaw has been substantially amended since September 2022, then give second reading as amended to formally endorse the clean consolidated version that incorporates all updates from the 2025 review and engagement process. And finally, direct staff to schedule a public hearing in accordance with the Local Government Act and standard notification procedures to provide further opportunity for public input on the updated bylaw. The staff recommended motion is included on this slide. And that concludes my presentation. Staff are available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a lot of information. You got through that pretty quickly. Thank you. Okay, from a technical point of view. Okay, so prior to that presentation, no. Any questions for staff based on the presentation? I'll go back to the motion. Councillor McMath?
I'm coming. There we go. Okay. I just had a question timeline wise. So there may be another motion coming, and to that point, should we go the route of having a special or a cow, can the District of Sooke still successfully meet the deadline?
I'll direct that back to Director of Planning.
Yes, so if council wanted to direct staff to present this to the committee of the whole or the LUDC, I think we could still meet the deadline by end of year, potentially with a special meeting or not. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, Councillor Haldane, you had your hand up, sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've got a motion, I guess, that we put together, put on the floor, but I've got a bunch of concerns. And I mean, if you even just go back to one meeting that we had with the Sooke Builders Association, a bunch of people, the Roy Up group came, Brian Butler came, there's a whole bunch, and we were asked as a council not to go to the meeting. And if we did go, not to make any questions, not to ask, just to sit there and listen. So I've been a councillor for a few months now. I've never had any input at all, not even going back to 2021 or whatever it was. So I'm just looking for one opportunity to be able to say some things about what goes on in this plan or some concerns that I have, and I have plenty of them. So we surely, if we don't want this to be considered in the public as just a staff document, well, then I'd like to have my say at some point, somewhere along the way here, or at least have you listen to me when I give you some stuff at some point along the way here. And I've sent in lots of stuff. Sooke Builders Association, Brian Butler, Roy Up, all these people have sent in their ideas. None of it's implemented in any of these revised draft stuff here. So I'd like to look at it for what it is and be able to have some say at some point, or I'm going to consistently be one of those guys who's sitting in the back going, well, I never got to say on anything. So I think it's tainted that way for me. So do we want it to be clean? I mean, it's going to take what, one meeting with a committee of the whole for us to be able to sit down, discuss some of the issues that we have here and maybe make some ratifications. Maybe you just push it through exactly the way you've got it right now, but at least people have been heard, or at least I get to say something. Why didn't I get to say something at that meeting? Why was I told to sit there and not talk? Why was I told not to go at all? Because you would make the other people feel uncomfortable.
Okay. Did you have a question?
I'm just raising a point of order here. Like, we are straying way off the agenda. And are we now moving ahead as if that motion is on the floor?
We hadn't until that point, but we just, give me 2 seconds to regroup here. Do you have a question? Councillor Haldane?
Well, I've got a bunch of questions on the OCP, but this is probably not the time to ask those questions. So,
yeah. Okay.
I guess the one question I do have is if we do give, this is my understanding of the situation.
Sorry, I don't mean to interject again. Where are we right now? Is Councillor Haldane
just commenting on the presentation by staff? We have a motion in the background, which I haven't resurfaced yet, but I will momentarily.
because it sounds like motivating.
Yeah, it did sound like a little, that's why I asked if there was a question. The chair asked if there was a question.
So after first reading of a bylaw under subsection 1, the local government must do the following in indicated order. First, consider the proposed official community plan in conjunction with its financial plan. And I don't see a financial plan in conjunction with what it is we're trying to push through. So that would be something I would like to see.
Okay. I'll direct that question to Mr. Riley. You said somewhere in your presentation there was no financial plan attached to this, correct?
Yeah, those approvals occurred during first reading of this bylaw.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Corporate officer, you had your hand up.
Apologies. I just wanted to discuss what Councillor McMath was also making a point of order. So we do have a motion on the floor, and on a couple of the comments from Councillor Haldane, this is the opportunity for this discussion. If you did need to move it to a committee of the whole to have further discussion and discuss with staff, that can be part of that process. I would just caution that it's not for public input until you round out what this second amended bylaw will be to bring it to public hearing. And that is the next opportunity for input from the public. And so just making sure that we keep those two elements separate and that there is a motion on the floor. And so if you wanted to discuss that first, and then perhaps any questions about the bylaw afterwards.
Thank you for that. And so what I will do is I will go back and prepare the question, because we've had a motion on the floor, which is to send this to committee of the whole. Is that okay? Is that what your motion said? Okay. So. Yes, sir.
I'm not quite sure what percent.
Just point of personal privilege. We can't hear anything.
Okay.
My apologies. Yeah, I'm just wondering, I'd like to know what we're sending back to, if we are going to send something back to the committee of the whole. Will we not have to pass the second part that council gives second reading to as amended official committee plan bylaw, so we know what we're sending to the committee of the whole? Or are we what are we sending? We have to pass that first and then look at the a motion to send it to committee of the whole.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be correct?
No, as the chair, what I heard is that we had a red line amended OCP come to us on Thursday night. What we would discuss at the committee of the whole would be the redlined version for us to have our, I don't know, final say, I don't know what it is, as a council to review those changes. That's what I believe the motion to be. Is that correct, Councillor Haldane? Okay, I believe that's what I seconded, but for discussion purpose. So it wouldn't be, second reading wouldn't be required. It would go to,
Okay.
okay? Procedurally, could I ask the corporate officer, if that motion was successful, it would go to committee of the whole for further discussion to review the red line document. And then the recommendation from committee of the whole would come back to council, which would then trigger first and second reading. Is that correct?
That would be for second reading, and that is correct, but that also can happen tonight. We can start that process this evening. You don't have to bring it to a committee of the whole. You, as council, can meet and start discussing these items this evening. Right now, this is what the purpose is. And so you can either bring it for an amendment, and if it needs further amendment and you prefer that staff come back with another iteration based on your discussion this evening of some of those changes that council wishes to see, that can happen as well. So this can also happen here, that there's either recommendations and it's postponed to another report with another iteration, or perhaps there's appetite for minor changes and we move it forward for second reading and public hearing. So there's options, but it doesn't necessarily have to go to committee of the whole.
Okay. Thank you for that clarity. It's, I guess, it would sound like I was motivating. If there's another opportunity for council. So is this ought to be where we are taking that redlined document right now and asking, because there's a myriad of questions.
Having that discussion, I would just caution that because there is a motion on the floor, we need to find out which appetite council currently has.
Okay.
And so if we wanted to dive into discussing this redlined version this evening and continue on that discussion, or if we wanted to bring it to the committee of the whole.
Okay. I just being cognizant of the hour of the day and a 1 o'clock meeting of committee of the whole may be a more appropriate, but okay, it sounds like I'm motivated.
Apologies, Chair, and we also have those online with their hands up.
Okay, Councillor Bateman. I'm
Yeah.
going to, okay. Yes, Councillor Bateman first, and then Councillor McMath, then Mayor Terry.
Okay, I did come prepared tonight to comment directly on the red line version, just a few comments. And I assume that perhaps we can do both. We can contribute some suggested revisions while also considering Councillor Haldane's motion. So perhaps he could withdraw the motion for the time being until we can have put a half hour into it, and then be in a position perhaps to go to that committee of the whole, which we could schedule in the evening, by the way.
Oh, I purposely said 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so we'll be fresher at that time. Councillor McMath.
I am in favor of taking this to Cal or special. I can't remember which we said it was going to be, just because it is 8:45 right now, and I have about 6 pages of language changes and some questions following that. So that's just for myself, and I'm sure Councillor Bateman has even more than I do. So we can go through this all tonight, but as Councillor St. Pierre likes to point out, sometimes the late night choices, they're not always the best. So I would like to see it go to the committee of the whole. And it's not necessarily that there's going to be massive changes, but it does just give us another opportunity to go through everything piece by piece, where we as a group, even if we disagree, I think one of the biggest issues, at least that I have, even after the red line copy, is there's still a lot of ambiguous language for me that is open to interpretation. So I would really like it to go to a committee of the whole where we can have a more casual but fulsome dialogue about those pieces.
Okay, so I'm going to, Mayor Tate, any comments?
Yes, thank you, Chair. As stated at the last meeting, the intention tonight was for council to come forward with their, like, to focus on the changes, the red line only, and to provide that. However, given the hour, I'm not okay with us talking about this for 30 more minutes or even 45, and then also scheduling a committee of the whole to carry on. It's one or the other. We either do it tonight or we schedule a committee of the whole and hold your homework, those of you that have it, for that committee of the whole. I would support a 1 o'clock meeting. The intention there is that there would be no public input. This would be now council meeting openly and going through these changes. And then potentially at the end, or ideally at the end, it could even be a special council meeting where we break out into committee of the whole, resume as council, and then be prepared to move an amended second reading and to schedule the public hearing. The public deserves a say on this, but we need to all be speaking from the same song sheet and to deliver them something. Here's where we've democratically landed. Now, please comment on it. To the point that others are making, it feels like it's getting late. It's certainly late for me, not about me though, but it's certainly late in Sooke. I think you're coming on, I don't know, I have different clocks in here, but it's late. So to sit here at this time, to me, I don't feel it being overly, I think it's just going to be late. And then we would potentially rush it and not get there. So I'm in favor of scheduling the committee of the whole. And I would say then just save your work for then. Let's not talk some now and then have to repeat it all again later. It's one or the other. So put it to the later, find the committee of the whole, or schedule a special council meeting, embed a committee of the whole, where then at the end, the outcome is to provide an amendment second reading, and then to schedule a public hearing so that the public can weigh in. That is what I would vote in favor should that, and that would be my intention of what I would hope to see happen, as opposed to committee of the whole makes recommendations and then we sit here and talk about them all over again and the public still cannot comment on them and we're just dragging them along for a long, dull, boring ride. Thank you.
So hearing that, Councillor Mayor Tate, wise words, thank you. Would you be prepared to make an amendment to the original motion that it goes to special council meeting with a breakout to committee of the whole and returning to regular council to make a second reading at the conclusion of committee of the whole?
Yeah, I can't see that motion, but I would make an amendment that council schedule a special council meeting, because procedurally we can break out into committee of the whole at any time.
Correct.
And so it would be a special council meeting so we can advance this work.
Okay. So I would ask the mover and the seconder if they're amenable to that.
Yep, fair enough.
Mover is, seconder is. So corporate officer, have you captured that motion?
We have captured it. I just didn't type it fast enough to put it on the screen, but it is captured in my chicken scratches here and.
Okay. And I will call the question then. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? No one is opposed. It's carried unanimously. Did I see your hand, Councillor McMath? I quickly saw the mayor's, but I didn't see yours. So I did say unanimously.
I had it up.
Thank you.
We can't see ourselves, so it's that's why I was speaking out, because I couldn't see. So anyway, it's all good.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Item 11, motion for which notice for which notice has been given. 11.1, permitting requirements for storage containers on private property. Councillor Haldane provided notice of the following motion. That council directs staff to prepare a report outlining the district's current approach to regulating storage containers, including temporary, permanent storage, and commercial or public use, and provide options and implications for future regulation. The report is to include assessment of legal, safety, liability considerations, as well as a review of how the municipalities of Colwood, Langford, Highlands, and Metchosin regulate shipping containers. Councillor Haldane, over to you.
Yes, thank you.
point of
It's come
order.
up through the community a bunch of times, and because I do housing in Sooke, I do talk to the building inspectors on a regular basis, and people have come to ask about setting up CCANs, and of course, it came up that they have to go through the BC building code, and there's engineering required and tie downs and so on. So I'm trying to find a different route so that we can try and at least grandfather in the existing ones, try and take away any liability with the district. And I have looked up a pile of information, and I do have a bunch of information, but most importantly, there's a section in the Local Government Act 742, and it says a municipality or a member of its council, regional district, member of its board, or an officer, employer, municipality, regional district is not liable for any damages or other loss, including economic loss sustained by any person or to property of any person as a result of neglect or failure for any reason to enforce by the institution of a civil proceeding or a prosecution, the provincial BC building code. And that's number A. B is a bylaw under Division 1. C is a bylaw under Division 8.3, fundamental powers, yada, yada. But the point being, we're not held liable if we overlook and if we pass something saying we can let these people live peacefully on their property with their CCANs intact. We could come up with something if staff wanted to work through something saying that you don't want people either living in them or be, worrying about fire, because the fire department needs to know if somebody was living in one or somebody's on property. But for the most part, like some of the people have already got up and talked here, it's been going along in this community for 20 or 30 years with no problems, no issues, and we haven't had any problems. So do we really want to rain down on top of these landowners or these private property people to be able to have to come up with monies and something to fix a situation that's not broken? So anyhow, I'm wanting it to go through, and again, I checked with 742 of the Local Government Act to make sure the district itself would not be liable.
Okay, before I go to, so are you prepared to make a motion that council direct staff to prepare a report? That's
Yeah,
what's in front of us.
I think that's what we set up there, and I did that with Nancy there at some point before.
Okay, so you've, and it's been seconded by Councillor Beddoes. Thank you, both of you. So you've motivated pretty good. Do you wish to motivate any further?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Beddoes, do you wish to motivate as well?
Yeah, actually, this issue has come up a number of times, and again, I think even though we have it on the books, we certainly not have enforced anything. But it is a bit of a bugaboo that we do need to have some clarification. And I agree with Councillor Haldane is that if we could find the best practices, if somebody's living in it, that has a different route, or if somebody has it wired up for a shop and they're working in it, again, it has to come up to a certain code. But for the most part, my feeling and the ones I see around town, and I see probably hundreds of them, they're just used as storage containers, and they're not going to blow away. So I would support this motion, and hopefully we'll get a good report back.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to comment?
Yes, I do. I fully support the motion. And I was wondering if we could make sure the report included whether or not we have any obligation and what are our actual obligations with regards to this. Because if this is actually some of our own stuff and we just get rid of it, that's fine. But if we actually have, for example, provincial legislation or other legislation that's essentially forcing us or potentially forcing us to act as an enforcement arm, I'd like to know what that is.
Okay. So to our corporate officer, could you include that in the report? We're asking for a report. Could you, Councillor St. Pierre has asked for our I'm thinking not liabilities.
So to be clear, I don't honestly care about the liability that much because I think it's ridiculous. I'd
Obligation.
love to know how many dollars have been spent on people being hit by flying shipping containers. In terms of liability, it's ridiculous. But I would like to know whether or not there's other jurisdictions that decided this is a good idea, even though I think it's a bad idea. I'd like to know.
Yeah, I have some, I do have some information about Mission, which they chose to do, but I'll share that with you. It's not germane to this conversation right now.
I would suggest that if council wishes that staff prepare such report, it will outline any of our obligations based on the code, as well as liability implications. And also, Councillor Haldane had also wanted to find out what other municipalities, particularly the ones in question that he mentioned here. So it would be fulsome in that. So,
Okay.
yes.
Anybody else wish to comment? Oh, Mayor Tate.
Oops. Sorry, did I lose? Okay, there we go. I think it's just to note that we have a suite of resolutions queuing up for reports. So to Councillor Haldane, I'm fine to support this. Just note that you're in the queue, so you'll need to wait for the reports. And to the community, we are not out there patrolling and in looking at storage cans. When a complaint is received or two complaints, or there's a life safety matter in question, bylaw or potentially fire and rescue will respond. But we have a lot going on right now, and this is not something that the district is doing. I have never received or heard of any problem with a storage container. But there has been some misinformation out there, somewhat stating that we have nothing better to do but to seek and find storage cans and penalize owners. That is not happening in the district of Sooke, as far as I know, unless there was a life safety question at hand. And yes, they're all over. People use them to store. We have a significant rat issue of which I've personally endured. I can totally understand and respect the draw to why anyone would like a sea can or a storage can for that particular disgusting reason. However, this is not what our staff have been doing. We have other things that we're focusing on. I have no problem with the report, but it will go in the queue and it'll surface at a later time. I just want to be clear there because of what I've received through the line of misinformation. And it's unfair in how our staff have unfortunately been the target of that unfairly because of that misinformation. We have a lot of other things that are we're focusing on at the moment.
Thank you for that, Mayor Tate. Seeing no more hands up, I will call the question. All those in favor? And it's carried unanimously. Okay, next, 11.2, Council Remuneration Bylaw Review. Mayor Tate provided notice of the following motion that council direct staff to prepare a report on the current council remuneration and benefits bylaw 845-2022 for presentation at an upcoming committee of the whole meeting for review and discussion, and that the report include a summary of council remuneration history to the extent that information is available, along with any related council decisions that can be identified. And further, that council consider potential amendments to the remuneration structure to provide additional compensation for members of council for participation on District of Sooke Committee and for serving as deputy mayor. Over to you, Mayor Tate.
Thank you, Chair. So I would like to move that, and if there's a seconder, perhaps I will move it with an amendment at the very end to be in effect for the next term. And then if there's a seconder, I'll speak to it.
Councillor Bateman. Councillor Bateman is amicable to the amendment.
And he seconded it? Okay, I can't see it on the screen. Okay, so it's never pleasant to vote in your own increase, which some of us have done because the previous council did not bring the amount forward and chose not to do anything. It actually was members of the public that brought forward a report where they felt that the remuneration was dated, and so council then responded over time. I think as we look to close out this term, it would be of benefit to get this work done, and then with it, and then have that discussion, and that any change to remuneration be effective when the next council takes office. So just for those that are following this, this is not for us to vote in a raise for ourselves at the, while we run to the end of this term. There is never, it's always been very much the mayor receives X, councillors receive half. However, I'm aware of how much work council members do. So I've been reflecting on that, as well as the additional responsibilities when serving as deputy mayor. The role of the mayor has evolved, certainly in the time that I've been in this chair. And certainly when wildfire season or other disastrous events impact our community, it is of real benefit for the deputy mayor to help with that, reply to emails and so forth. So that's why I've put this forward. It'll come to an upcoming committee of the whole sometime in the new year, and then we can just see where we're at. Maybe it's fine as it is, and then go from there. So that's why I brought this forward. Thank you.
Councillor Bateman, do you wish to?
Yeah, so thank you. Mayor Tate has said it all very well there. This very much is a best practice at municipal governments entering a final year. You do a review of this kind. And indeed, it was the Sooke Economic Development Group, that's Doug Wittich and Jeremy Wilson, David Evans and others brought this forward. Back then, we were making $10,000 a year, councillors were, and we got the News Mirror let us know that we were voted in a 50% increase, which took us up to 15,000. There were a number of approaches here. Previous reports have been prepared by staff and using comparisons for communities of our size. However, during those discussions, I recall an individual coming to the mic. She had been part of a task force back in the day. I don't know what that day was. So that was a third-party task force that did independently look at remuneration, and came forward. So I'm interested to see what the staff report will detail, but I hope it will look at that option of a third-party group being engaged. Thank you.
May I just add one piece to that?
Go ahead.
I can share that remuneration committee existed prior to 2008. So it was the 2005 council. They did not actually enact what that committee brought forward. And the one piece to note, since all of that is UBCM actually developed an independent best practice guide. So that is another piece there. I forgot to mention that there is that guiding document that exists, that third-party work has been done to a certain extent, but it doesn't rule out a different entity forming. It's just, I'm also cognizant of capacity as we enter the final year. Thank you.
Councillor St. Pierre.
I support the motion. I also support there being an equity lens because obviously if someone isn't making a lot of money, they can't afford to be a councillor unless they're actually being paid sufficiently. So it'd be a good thing to look at in that context and see whether or not the best practice of UBCM actually consider that. But I would love to see that lens applied to the report and to the work being done.
Thank you for bringing this forward, Mayor Tate. It's always a touchy subject when you're talking about your own pay, but I think it is appropriate in the last year of a term. And my only one question was, I wonder if it would be retroactive to tonight. Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Next, 11.3 South Island Prosperity Project. Councillor Bateman provided notice for the following motion. Would you like a break? Is that what you're putting it?
No, I just,
Oh,
maybe. I would have voted against it, but well, isn't that, you didn't ask for those or against, so I was just.
oh, okay. Oh, I thought your hand was up. Oh, you're just scratching your head.
You're not using your microphones, counselors. Can you please figure that out?
I thought, Councillor Haldane was voting against it and, there was no request for no votes.
I thought I saw Councillor Haldane's hand up. If I didn't in the air, would you like your vote recorded, sir?
Well, I just, timing's off for me. I mean, I don't doubt that it's probably worthwhile doing. I just don't think
It's just a report at this point. It's not, well, we'll vote on the remuneration.
Okay.
Thank you. And I apologize for making light of your vote. It's a democratic society. South Island Prosperity Project. Councillor Bateman provided notice of the following motion: Rising Economy Task Force final report September 2025. That council refer the South Island Prosperity Partnerships project titled Igniting Momentum, Recommendations for Greater Victoria to Overcome Economic Stagnation and Achieve Our Potential, September 23rd, 2025 report to the November 3rd, 2025 Community Economic Development Committee for review. Over to you, Councillor Bateman.
Okay, a mouthful, as always with my motions, but I'm chair of the Community Economic Development Committee, and we have learned that we need to get council direction before anything goes onto our agendas. So SIP, the South Island Prosperity Partnership, its task force, has delivered a remarkably substantial document here. Councillor St. Pierre is our liaison to SIP. And I trust, if indeed this motion goes forward, that he can lead our discussion as our vice chair of the committee. It's a fascinating document. It includes, it covers 7 areas: affordability, skills shortfalls, commercial districts under pressure, tariff threats, and other things. And it makes recommendations to various levels of government, including local governments. So I would hope that our committee could look at the local government recommendations and bring back to council and tick off some boxes, because we are indeed doing a number of things that SIP is recommending that we do. But also, yeah, so that's that. It's a simple matter. I don't believe it's going to cause any staff time issues.
And that's your motion.
That's fine.
And I will second that motion for discussion. Would you wish to motivate? Which it sounded like you did a pretty good job.
Motivate. I've motivated.
And I don't. Councillor St. Pierre.
I was going to try in second, but that's okay.
Okay.
Having said that, you'll be glad to know that I'll be attending a SIP presentation webinar tomorrow on that very topic. So I hopefully can have some stuff to bring to the table, if council is in favor.
Any comments from anybody else?
Us online.
Councillor McMath, I see you. Go ahead.
I just have a question. The motion is fine. I'm to Councillor Bateman. Why are these pieces coming to the regular agenda? Like, why isn't the Economic Development Committee just reading the report?
Well, you're echoing a number of comments we've made at the committee. The terms of reference require that as a standing committee, council sends its direction to the committee. So hence I've needed to get this item on our agenda. This process is required as a standing committee, unlike a select committee, which would have been able to define its own agendas.
But direction set by council, to me, I envision that as more like goal orientated rather than a homework, if that makes sense.
So Councillor McMath, I would think that this is just process. Now there's an accurate recording. It's in the minutes, and that the Economic Committee has their endorsement of council to be working in this direction.
Yeah.
I think it just kind of narrows the focus. That's what I would see the intent. It does feel a little cumbersome. However, it's our process.
Sorry. So there are two of these similar motions, one that's about to follow. And this is just us telling the ECDev committee to review this report. So then is this going to happen every single agenda? Because our agendas are quite large enough as we've spoken about. So is there not another way to tackle this piece where it can still be included in your agenda, but without this being the process?
Terms of reference with the creation of the committee was where that would lie.
Yeah. I agree, it's cumbersome, and Mayor Tate has her hand up. Well,
Thank you. This is a standing committee, so it's the case where it's an extension of council. So the land use one is far more easier to follow. Development applications go to the land use committee. They come to council for endorsement because we're the final decision makers. The community ECDev one is a little bit different. The best approach would be that the committee, that particular committee, be reformed as a select committee and not a standing committee. That's the difference. And that's why it feels cumbersome like this. But we've also had committees that were select committees that brought forward recommendations and we didn't endorse any of them. So then that led to residents participating there being, why did I commit all that time? So here it's like, here's some work, we hand it over, it comes back. But there's a lot of gray area. So some thought would be, as we sort of have a wrap up on strategic planning, is potentially revisiting that and these committee terms. I think we're just for 1 year so that that potentially it just turned into a select committee and then that doesn't happen anymore.
Are you good with that, Councillor McMath?
These seem new to me. Like I don't recall these coming through this way before.
well,
That's because they were select committees in the past, not standing committees.
Select.
So
Select versus standing operate differently.
I understand that part, but how many meetings has the ECDev committee had?
well, we've had 4 to date. Interestingly, these motions, this one and the next, were generated by the fact that the previous meeting was canceled for lack of agenda items. So that embarrassed me as chair, frankly, and I felt I needed to get proactive in terms of getting these kind of motions to council to ensure we have full agendas. So yeah, so that's the rationale here.
So do you need more direction from council?
Like we're moving completely off of this. I think that's a different discussion on committee and format. Right now, it's whether or not we move ahead with this notice of motion.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I think I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? I'm looking online. Okay, the next one, Councillor Bateman provided notice of motion, following motion that Sooke Region Cultural Plan, that the council refer the Sooke Program of the Arts Committee 2022 Sooke Region Cultural Plan Review received for information by council at its regular meeting of July 11th, 2022 to the December 1st, 2025 Community Economic Development Committee for review. Councillor Bateman, over to you.
Okay, so again, I'll start by noting that the Community Economic Development Committee has a very broad mandate. We no longer have a Sooke program of the Arts Committee, and arts are part of our health and community wellness component. A representative of the Sooke Arts Council is one of the committee's advisory members, and representatives from the arts community have attended our meetings and spoken about their interest in the district paying renewed attention to the arts at this time. So looking back at the Sooke, the SPA committee in its final act, as most of us will recall, or 5 of us will anyway, their final act was to bring forward a update on the 2012 Sooke Region Cultural Plan. And I would like to give the arts community and the committee in particular an opportunity to have a look at those documents, the original 2012 and the 2022 update, which we received for information back then. So it went straight onto the shelf and has gathered dust. So I think it's important for us to have a look at that, and council will ideally give direction to the committee to have a look at it and to come up with a recommendation on what to do next.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Herb Haldane, Councillor Herb Haldane has seconded.
And I think I've motivated already.
I think you have. Councillor Haldane, any motivation required? Hearing none, I will call the, you put your hand up, Councillor McMath.
No, I was just touching my face.
I was trying to be proactive. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. I'm looking at the camera. Okay. Item 12, notices of motion, subdivision and development standards bylaw 925, 2025. Councillor Haldane provided the following notice of motion to the acting corporate officer. That council direct staff to prepare a report clarifying the status of past council direction related to boulevard landscaping requirements and to provide options for reinstating flexibility, allowing for gardenscapes, plants, and other non-grass materials within district boulevards, and that the report include recommendations to permit increased driveway access for duplex and multi-unit lots, including consideration of multiple driveways or increased combined driveways width of up to 10 meters where feasible. Over to you, Councillor Haldane.
Pardon? Sorry, Chair. This is just being read in today and will be come forward at the next one so that everyone has an opportunity to think this one through until the next meeting. Thank you, Chair.
New business, item 13. I see none. Corporate officer is giving me the none required. Correspondence requiring action, Broom Hill Mountain Development Application EM Post request for discussion by Councillor Bateman. Broom Hill Mountain Development Application EM Post, and that council received Broom Hill Mountain Development Application EM Postal POSTL correspondence for information.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, so I'm strictly bringing this forward. You know, there will be a formal public process regarding this development application in due course. And I just was, given the amount of conversation in the community about the project, I just was hoping that staff could answer the 4 questions in this letter. And is someone here tonight to answer those questions? No. So,
yes, sorry,
oh, Chris Marshall is online.
Yes, sorry, I was just getting my audio and video on.
Okay, so the first question in the letter is, could you tell me where the city is in the rezoning process?
Yes, so the District of Sooke received a application back in October, about a year ago, October 17th, 2024. They have advertised on the property their rezoning application, so that's why the public is aware of this application, because signs have been placed around the perimeter of the property. We've been back and forth with the applicants in terms of their various studies that are needed. This is a fairly large development. We're looking at in the neighborhood of 350 to 400 units of lots on this property. And of course, with SHMU, that could be as many as ×4. So large number of housing potential in this area. This is a pristine, undeveloped area of the community, and has lots of trails through it. So there's a lot of interest from the surrounding neighbors in the community as to how this is going to be developed. But at this point in time, we're going back and forth with the applicant to make sure that they have all of their ducks in a row in terms of their studies, their servicing, their phasing, their environmental assessments. One of the stumbling blocks right now is that the development will require some major upgrades in the sewer system. So that's being studied right now in terms of what their options are in terms of phasing and how much development they could do prior to fairly substantial costs in terms of upgrading sewer servicing for this area. So it's not we're not at a point where we're bringing it to a first reading or a public hearing. We're still going through all the details of the project at this point in time and making sure they meet all of the criteria for a development of this magnitude.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marshall. The second question in the letter was, and I think you partially answered this, will there be council meetings where this is discussed?
Yes, so just like with the official community plan, the rezoning application will need to go through council for first reading. There will be an advertisement in the newspaper for first reading. There is no public hearing for residential rezoning, so there won't be a public hearing for this particular rezoning application. And this particular development was in stream when our procedures bylaw was passed, in which we require developers to hold a public meeting. Certainly, we can suggest or encourage the applicant to hold a public meeting, but it's not required as per our procedures bylaw because this application was in stream before we passed that bylaw.
Thank
So,
you.
sorry, there would be first reading, second reading, public or no public hearing, and it would just be a question of them meeting all the conditions prior to it going to final adoptions, the 4 readings and adoption.
Okay. As promised, I'll just continue reading the final 2 questions. Who currently owns the land?
Do we get to
Not our business.
I don't have that information in front of me at this point in time, so I'd have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
True to our planning director, is that information that council is allowed to have? Because if it was a numbered company as an example, I don't think we actually, I don't know. I think I remember somewhere along the line that we actually can't ask who the owner is because there's representatives and there's all kinds of different things that play into that. So don't know. Anyway, my question to you, Director of Planning, are we actually allowed to know that in a public setting?
Sorry, I can answer that. It is an application and it once they've officially applied, it is public knowledge. So I don't have the name of the company in front of me right now, but I can get that.
No, it was just that Councillor Bateman asked who is the owner of the property. Sometimes that's different than the applicant, right? So.
Right.
Thank you.
So again, finally quoting again the correspondent, asking these questions, is the Sooke Nation involved?
As per all rezoning applications, we do refer these applications to the Sooke First Nations. So yes, they will have an opportunity to comment.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Yep, so it'll be a motion to receive for information, moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by myself. All those in favor? All those in favor? Carried. 14.2, District of Saanich Letter of Motion, Bill 44 impacts Saanich. Requested for discussion by Councillor Bateman. District of Saanich Letter of Motion, Bill impacts bracket Saanich. That council received the District of Saanich Letter of Motion, Bill 44 impacts Saanich correspondence for information. Over to you, Councillor Bateman.
Okay, this is a letter we received in the correspondence package 2 weeks ago, and it is a letter from the District of Saanich, Mayor Murdoch, to the Minister Christine Boyle. And it's basically asking in its fundamental nature here to request a review of the impacts of Bill 44. Here we are a year later. And Saanich has raised the point that what's happening and We need a review, basically. So I think it's easy enough for the district to support this motion and make it clear that we too are very interested in a ministerial review. Motivated.
I'll second it if no one seconded it.
Seconded by Councillor St. Pierre. Sorry,
Okay, I didn't hear him.
turn your mic off.
Yeah, I just did.
He's speaking now to motivate.
Well, actually, I don't know if I am motivating in favor, mind you. I'm curious as to how much data would actually be available after 1 year. I know that from Mr. Marshall's comments, there wouldn't necessarily be a lot of uptake, and there hasn't necessarily been a lot of uptake with the SHMU legislation. Maybe that's data in itself. I don't know, but I don't know. It feels like a lot of effort when there may not be very much coming out of the legislation in itself, but that's.
Comment, Councillor Haldane?
Yeah, they had this on Adam Sterling today on his show. They talked about the whole Saanich stuff and Bill 44 and this motion, so on. But it was interesting because Saanich Council admitted that they actually dropped their population by 300 people over this last year. So people are moving out of Saanich, I guess maybe out of suites or something, I don't know. But the point is Saanich Council and many residents in Saanich do not want any growth. They've had lots of people talking about that. They don't want apartments. They don't want more subdivisions. They want Saanich to stay the way it is. They're 50% farming, 50% single family residential housing. They're not looking to increase that. That's kind of the push. They want to be more like, I guess, the Highlands or those guys. But I think it's a little late. They've got a big commercial center and stuff. I mean, that's where everybody's going to push people. That there's going to be areas, including places like Sooke, that some people don't want any change at all, and other people want it to grow or increase for tax purposes and so on.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions, comments? I will call the question then. Oh, the mayor's got one question. Okay, go ahead, Councillor, or Mayor Tate. Sorry, I'm having trouble with that.
That's okay. We have a motion outstanding, like when I mentioned reports in the queue, when we received a letter from the minister about the legislation, we had a motion to direct our staff to prepare a report on what is transpiring here locally. So I would prefer to wait until we actually have that report so that we have local context. And then potentially write from the premier. So I would make a motion to postpone this motion until that report is available, likely in the new year. Because otherwise asked, my answer is I have no idea what's happening and what the uptake is in Sooke.
Okay, logical. Are you okay? So we will table that motion
Or postpone to a future meeting.
We'll postpone it. That's right. This takes unanimous.
Pardon, if I could just have some clarification. So I know that we have a motion arising, which we haven't read in at this point. So all we're really doing is receiving this for information, which the motion is on the floor.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that we can simply go through and see who's in favor, but just not proceed to the motion arising, which.
Okay. So how do we BF that to the report?
Well, if there's a report already pending, then that's already in the queue. So we don't have to reference the report at all. We don't have to do anything there. Just simply move forward with this simpler motion, which we've already read in, which was to receive for information.
Okay. Matt, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And last but not least, 14.3, park use permit fees for free events / Helen Ritz or brackets Helen Ritz. Requested for discussion by Councillor Bateman, park use permit fees for free events parentheses Helen Ritz. That council received the park use permit fees for free events Helen Ritz correspondence for information. Counselor Bateman.
Yeah, so we talked about this at a council meeting about a month ago, I think it was. And Ms. Ritz, on behalf of the Friends of Sooke Park Society, wrote us to capture her comments from the night. She's given us a substantial letter here. What I'd like to see is, I've just sent this over to you as a motion arising. Did we get this seconded yet?
No.
Okay, then I'm not gonna motivate anymore, speak another word. Well, the motion to receive for information, yeah.
Did you second? Oh, seconded by Counselor St. Pierre.
Yeah, okay.
Keep motivating away.
So I just think that the points she raises in this in her letter, as we discussed a month ago, deserve some fuller investigation. I'd like staff to report back on how best to amend the fees and charges bylaw. Thank you, Ms. Owen, has captured it here. The staff report back on how best to amend fees and charges bylaw number 725 to support lower cost park use by Sooke-based nonprofit groups.
Seconded by Counselor St. Pierre.
Yeah. So really that's what we need. Here's the letter. We've had a discussion a month ago, and I'm curious to see how staff might amend that bylaw to.
Okay. Yeah. Counselor St. Pierre.
In terms of motivating, there's a lot of administrative time spent both in the part of the applicants, but also on part of staff to basically get not much money at all. And as I found out, it's under staff's delegated authority to basically, relieve them of the fees if it seems like it'd be a financial hardship, which means that it's a lot of application time, a lot of processing time in order to get no money. As such, it makes sense to actually find something a little bit simpler, a little more expedient. One of the things that did occur to me at that point in time was that we had a yearly fee, I believe, for businesses, something like $100 or $200. And I believe the amount was actually within reach for staff to simply say, no, don't worry about it. You're a nonprofit working in our parks to help us out. We'll just relieve you of that, which means you do it once. You actually go through that process once. You don't have to do it many, many times. So having, first of all, one single cost per year for nonprofits that would provide savings if they didn't want to go through the process, but also allow for a simpler process if they actually wanted to be relieved of the cost would actually make sense, I believe. And if, for example, they're getting money under grants to pay for it, they could just put it into the grant application too. But the multiple applications for, I don't know, what's 14 events a year or something, that is ridiculous. And it's wasting everybody's time. So that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your comments.
And this is very much a high level report, and it will go in the queue along with all the others behind CCANs.
There's a lot of queues going on tonight. I would think that an application, the money is secondary, but I would think an application under explaining park use, liabilities, what you're going to do, what you're going to leave in, and making sure that people sign the appropriate waivers would be in place, as opposed to collecting the money, which I think is exactly done. Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Okay. Woo-hoo. Items removed from the consent agenda, and I believe there was none tonight. So we'll move on to council, mayor and council verbal reports, and Councilor McMath is there. You guys are both late. I'm going to interject, and I'm going to pick Mayor Tate because it's now 20-1 where you're at, and I would hopefully hear from you so you can get some sleep.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I am in Ottawa for Advocacy Days with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Made it here in good form, just very high level. What are we advocating on? So this is all the board and committee members from across the country. The four main priorities are naturally around delivering municipal infrastructure, enabling more attainable, affordable housing, ensuring safer communities, protecting Canadians from the impacts of climate change. I won't go into the details of this because you'll see that if you receive FCM newsletters, The day does start early with briefings, meetings with parliamentarians, and so forth. So I'm looking forward to the work. I will return to Sooke on Thursday, and we'll look to receive the first poppy, and then look forward to Halloween. So just reminding residents that when you drive home on Friday, the roads are going to be very busy. Typically, what happens when school lets out, many children work their way to the local businesses, and the crosswalks are all in full use. So a lot of fun, a lot of dinosaurs, a lot of everyone crossing. So just be patient as you make your way home, or if you can, choose to work virtually that day because it is always a lot of traffic. Further to your comments at the start of the meeting, thank you very much. Media had started reaching out to mayors, and maybe you all received one too, South Island. There's been several. And so I have just started indicating my intentions. Yes, I was on CFAX radio this morning. I did an interview with Sooke News Mirror this afternoon. And I've stated this is my final year. I look forward to finishing the term with all of you. And it is, to our earlier point, Councillor Pearson, 17 years as of now. It'll be 18 next year because I was first elected in 2008. But it has been the privilege of my life. And I look forward to a new adventure. So there's more on that wherever you choose to see. And I'll leave it at that. And yeah, look forward to getting some rest because it's early days here. I'm in my own time zone right now. But thanks to all of you for being there, and to our deputy mayor for chairing and getting us through this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Tate. And our other online presence, Councillor McMath, you have any council verbal reports? You're in the newer time zone, so you get to go next.
I'll save it for another time. It's still late.
Thank you. I'll start on my immediate left. Councillor St. Pierre. Not tonight. Councillor Beddoes. Councillor Pearson, 0. Councillor Haldane. Councillor Bateman.
And I'll delay mine till another time.
And I appreciate at this hour of night that everybody has taken some time to get us out even a little bit earlier. Okay, so the next thing is motion to adjourn to close meeting. And I'll need a motion that council close the meeting to the public pursuant to the following subsection of the community charter, the time being 9:45, and under section 91E, the acquisition and disposition of expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality. I need a mover. Moved by Councillor St. Pierre, seconded by Councillor Beddoes. Sorry, I was looking to the blind spot tonight.
Well, that's.
And we'll just wait until room is cleared and it will be officially 9. Yes, few minute break, 9:45. 5-5. Extra innings. My wife would be still watching. Oh, yeah.
Hey, keep it down. I've got the game taped.
We're talking out loud. We'll turn our microphones off.
Nancy, do I stay on or do I come back in for a separate Zoom?
Stay online. Maybe.
Okay, thank you. How much time do I have?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah, we're going to do a bio break.